about the Political Parties Amendment Bill lined up for debate this afternoon. But away from that, the National Assembly will be resuming debate on the Learners with Disability Bill, Bill number 4 from the Senate of the year 2023 by the Chairperson Departmental Committee on Matters Education. The Virtual Asset Service Providers Bill, National Assembly Bills number 15 of the year 2025 is also lined up for a consideration this afternoon, as the bill is at the second reading, where members of Parliament will be debating the Virtual Asset Service Providers Bill. The County Public Service Finance Laws Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 39 of the year 2029, is a bill by the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Matters Finance and National Planning, where the National Assembly will be debating the bill on the County Public Finance Laws Amendment Bill, deliberating on a number of amendments seeking to amend the existing Act on County Public Finance Law. Under the Committee of the Whole, the National Assembly will be considering the Value Added Tax Bill, Bill number 11 of the year 2025, and with all indications from the Chamber is that the quorum has been achieved. So allow me to hand over back to the Chamber.
Okay, so you can see me tomorrow.
Tomorrow, what time?
In the afternoon.
Okay.
Around midday.
Midday, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
We now have quorum to transact business. Honorable members, you have a supplementary order paper that will guide our proceedings this afternoon. Clerk.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Members on their feet, take your seats. Honorable members, I have a short communication. As you may recall, on Tuesday, 27th May 2025, I notified the House that in compliance with the provisions of Section 40 of the Public Finance Management Act, Cap 412A, as read together with Standing Order 244C, the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning was scheduled to make a public pronouncement of the budget highlights and revenue-raising measures for the financial year 2025-26 on Thursday, 12th June 2025, that is tomorrow. In this regard, honorable members, I wish to remind the House that the event will take place as scheduled tomorrow, Thursday, 12th June 2025 from 3 p.m. in the National Assembly Main Chamber, Parliament Buildings. In keeping with the established parliamentary practice for fostering regional integration of the East African community, this ceremonial event will take place concurrently in all the East African member states. Honorable members, the pronouncement of the budget highlights and revenue-raising measures by the Cabinet Secretary is a critical function of the National Assembly in the budget-making cycle. Indeed, various dignitaries and invited guests are expected to attend and observe the proceedings. I therefore urge all members to prioritize and attend this significant event. Thereafter, there will be a reception at the Parliament Courtyard, hosted by the Minister of the National Treasury and Economic Planning. Consequently, honorable members, the parking spaces at the Parliament Courtyard will not be available for use tomorrow, Thursday, 12th June 2025. Honorable members will be dropped at the main entrance, following which drivers will be guided by Parliament security officers and sergeant-at-arms to alternative parking spaces within Parliament Square. To this end, I urge honorable members to clear the parking area at the Parliament courtyard as from today 4 p.m. to allow arrangements for the reception to be undertaken. The House is accordingly guided. Honourable members, while I'm upstanding, allow me to acknowledge in the Speaker's Gallery Gakoe Girls High School, Gatundu North, Kiambu; Migwani Boys High School from Mwingi West, Kitui; and in the public gallery, Karangare Secondary School, Mbere North, Embu; Kalisasi Secondary School from Mwingi Central, Kitui; and Thamaita West Secondary School from Ndia, Kirinyaga. On my behalf and on behalf of the House, we welcome the students, their teachers, and those accompanying them to the House of Parliament. Next.
Order number 3, messages.
Take the nearest seats, members. The nearest seats. Yes. Honourable members, I have a message from the Senate on appointment of senators to the Mediation Committee on the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2025. Honourable members, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 41-1, I wish to report to the House that I have received a message from the Senate regarding appointment of senators to a Mediation Committee on the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2025. The message conveys that pursuant to the provisions of Article 113 of the Constitution, the Speaker of the Senate has appointed the following senators to the Mediation Committee on the bill: Senator Captain Ali Ibrahim Roba, CBS MP; Senator Dr. Boni Halwale, CBS MP; Senator Tabitha Mutinda, MP; Senator William Kisang, MP; Senator Danson Mungatana, MP; Senator Eddie Gishero Okech, MP; Senator Mohamed Mwinyihaji Faki, MP; Senator Richard Momoima Onyonga, MP; and Senator Daniel Kitonga Maanzo, MP. Honourable members, the appointment of senators to Mediation Committee on the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2025 arose out of the decision of this House to reject the Senate amendments to the bill on Tuesday, 13th June 2025. This rejection remitted the bill to a mediation committee pursuant to the provisions of Article 112(2)(b) of the Constitution. Honourable members, you may recall that via the communication issued to this House on 4th June 2025, I appointed 9 members to represent the National Assembly in the Mediation Committee. With the appointment of the senators, the Mediation Committee is now fully constituted as contemplated under Article 113 of the Constitution. I therefore call upon the committee to expeditiously consider the contested aspects of the bill and submit a version for consideration by the Houses of Parliament. In considering the bill, I wish to remind the committee to be alive to the timelines provided for under Article 113(4) of the Constitution to ensure the bicameral process is concluded in good time. I thank you. Next.
Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority Leader. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to thank you for giving this opportunity to lay the papers on the Speaker. I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Wednesday, June 11th, 2025, in the afternoon sitting. 1. Reports of the Auditor General Financial Statements of the Commodities Fund Staff Mortgage and Car Loan Scheme for the year ended 30th June 2029 and 30th June 2021, 30th June 2022, and certificates therein. 2. Reports of the Auditor General financial statements of the Public-Private Partnership Project Facilitation Fund for the years ended 30th June 2019, 30th June 2020, 30th June 2021, 30th June 2022, 30th June 2023, and 30th June 2024, and certificates therein. 3. Annual reports of the National Gender and Equality Commission, NGEC, for the financial year ended 2023-2024. 4. Reports of the audit accounts of the Pest Control Products Board, PCPP, for the year ended 30th June 2024 from the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. 5. Reports of the National Government Budget Implementation Review for the first 6 months, first half for financial year 2024-2025 from the Office of Controller of Budget. 6. Quarterly Economic and Budgetary Review Report, third quarter for the financial year 2024-2025 for the period ending 31st March 2025 from the National Treasury. 7. The County Government's Budget Implementation Review for the first quarter for the financial year 2024-2025 from the Office of the Controller of Budget. 8. The National Government's Budget Implementation Review for the first 9 months for the financial year 2024-2025 from the Office of the Controller of Budget. And 9. Reports of the Auditor General of Financial Statements for the year ended 30th June 2024 and certificates therein in respect of 1. Our Lady of Mount Carmel Mary Hill Girls High School. 2. Rarieda Technical and Vocational College. 3. Sabunlei Secondary School. 4. St. Bonaventure Kaheti Boys High School. 5. St. Teresa Mboni Girls High School. And 6. St. Thomas Aquinas Kaimoni Boys High School. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay. Honorable Speaker, I don't know why the chairman of administration is... go and sit. Go and sit. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I beg to lay.
Thank you. Honorable members, call the next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Honorable members, before we go to order number 7, let's have a short rearrangement so that we dispose of orders number 8 and 9 before we go to order number 7. Is Musa Sirma in the house? Who will be moving the motion at order number 9? That's something you move, you second, and we dispose of. Majority Leader, where are the leadership of NGCDF committee?
That's all right. I saw Musa here. I don't know.
Well, he isn't.
Well, but Honorable Speaker, I think that's a fairly easy thing we
You
can
can
do.
move it.
Yeah.
Okay, call out order number 8.
Order number 8, motion. Report of the Committee of Supply on estimates of recurrent and development expenditure for the year ending 30th June 2026. Question to be put.
Members on their feet, take the nearest seats. Honorable members, will now put the question at order number 8, which is that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of Supply on its consideration of the budget estimates for the financial year 2025-26, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 221 of the Constitution, Section 39 of the Public Finance Management Act, Cap 412A and Standing Order 240A, approves the issuance of a sum of Kenya shillings 2,549,543,978,440 from the Consolidated Fund to meet the expenditure for the National Executive, Parliament, and the Judiciary during the year ending 30th June 2026 in respect of the votes as contained in the schedule. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those on the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Honorable members, I must congratulate those who painstakingly remained in the chamber yesterday to prosecute the committee of supply. I know some of you had retreated to elsewhere, but I saw members like Kajwang, Keinan, Owen, Bowen, and others, Oundo, who remained here from 2:30 to the end of the day, and we must salute their industry. Next order.
Order number 9, motion. Consideration of nominees to 51 National Government Constituencies Development Fund committees.
Yes, Owen.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the National Government Constituencies Development Fund Committee on its consideration of the 51 constituencies committees laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 10th June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 43(4) of the National Government Development Fund Act, Cap 414A, and paragraph 5, 2, and 10 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Regulation, approves the list of the nominees for appointment to the following 51 constituency committees of the National Government Constituency Development Fund as contained in the order paper, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, having done that, I think this is a straightforward matter. I would request the Honorable Jamatia. Oh, she's here.
She's walking out.
She's walking out. I should request it. But I want to request my counterpart on the other side, the Honorable Mbui, to second for approval. Thank you.
I second.
Order, Chamatia, take your seat, the nearest seat, or complete your walkout. Thank you. Honorable members, I now propose the question at order number 9, which is that this House adopts the report of the National Government Constituencies Development Fund Committee on its consideration of 51 constituency committees laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 10th June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 43(4) of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act, Cap 414A, and paragraphs 5, 2, and 10 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Regulations, approves the list of nominees for appointment to the following 51 constituency committees of the National Government Constituency Development Fund as set out in the order paper. Do I put the question? I now put the question, honorable members, at order number 9, which is that this House adopts the report of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Committee on its consideration of 51 constituencies committees laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 10th June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 43(4) of the National Government Constituencies Development Fund Act, Cap 414A, and paragraphs 5, 2, and 10 of the National Government Constituencies Development Fund Regulations, approves the list of nominees for appointment to the following 51 constituencies committees of the National Government Constituency Development Fund as set out in the order paper. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Let's go back to order number 7.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Honorable members, we have several requests for statements. I will start with the Honorable Farah Yakub. Is Farah Yakub in the house? Member for Fafi. Request dropped. Honorable Mark Mwenje, member for Embakasi West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. This is a request for a statement regarding the shortage of polio and BCG vaccines. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I rise to request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Health regarding shortage of polio and BCG vaccines in the country. Honorable Speaker, vaccines of newborns is essential for development of immunity and elimination of infant mortality by protecting infants against severe and life-threatening diseases, particularly the various forms of tuberculosis, including TB, meningitis, and miliary TB. The BCG vaccine is one of the oldest immunizations still in use globally and is a cornerstone of childhood vaccination programs. Administered shortly after birth, these vaccines offer crucial early life protection when infants are at their most vulnerable stage of development. Honorable Speaker, recent reports indicate that 12 out of 47 counties in the country have completely exhausted the stocks of key vaccines, particularly tuberculosis, BCG, and polio vaccines, is therefore alarming. Even more concerning is a statement issued on 6 June 2025. The PS, the Principal Secretary for the State Department for Medical Services, warning that the national stockpile of the BCG and polio vaccines were projected to last for only 2 weeks, while the rotavirus vaccine will run out within a month. The resultant delays in administration of these critical vaccines can leave children unprotected, significantly exposing them to the risk of severe illness, long-term disability, or premature death. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Health on the following. The immediate measures the Ministry of Health is taking to address the current shortage of polio and BCG vaccines in the country, including the specific timelines, the logistical arrangements for quick distribution of the vaccines across all counties, including plans to reach remote and regions that face logistical barriers, a report on coordination between the Ministry of Health and National Treasury to secure timely disbursements of funds for vaccine procurement through Gavi Kenya and the steps taken to meet financial commitments to Gavi Kenya to avert future disruptions. And finally, the long-term strategies put in place to strengthen the national vaccine supply chain so as to build resilience against future disruptions in vaccine availability. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Mwenje. Dr. Nyikal, before you tell us when you can bring the statement, when you brought me this statement yesterday, I felt alarmed because the BCG vaccinations are as old as all of you here. There is none of you who doesn't have a mark on your arms of BCG vaccination. So I did pick up the phone and call the PS for Health, Dr. Oluga. He confirmed that there was a shortage, but that the vaccines had arrived at JKIA and they will be distributed immediately to all hospitals, because I found this not only alarming but dangerous for the country. And we thank you for bringing the request. Dr. Nyikal, in view of the importance of this, I direct you to bring a response on Tuesday next week. I'll not give you the luxury of 2 weeks. And your response should not just be to tell us that vaccines have landed in the country, but the level of distribution to each and every health facility in the country, because children are born in every corner of this country and they are entitled as of right under the Constitution to these important vaccines.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm also aware of this, and I made the same inquiry you did, and I say that we'll get it in on Tuesday. So I'll make an effort to contact the CS and get the report by Tuesday.
Go beyond telling us that the vaccines have arrived. Tell us the manner and efficacy of distribution to all areas of need.
Understood.
Yes, thank you. On the same? Yes, Oundo.
Is it also possible, Speaker, the chair can also get an assurance from the State Department that such shortage and lack of the vaccine is not going to happen in this country in the foreseeable future to avoid putting our children under peril? Thank you, Chair. Speaker.
Thank you. Yes, Gagusha, on the same?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to request that as the chair gives that statement, he also addresses the statement on the issue of shortage of blood bags and reagents that has also been causing issue of blood shortage in the country, because it has taken a bit of time before he gives us that feedback.
Did you request for?
Yes, I did, and you directed that it be provided here in the House, but the chair has not done so as per your direction. And there's also another issue on the same, on the issue of ICU payments, the issue of boosting from 4,000 to 28,000 on SHA, which was raised here by the CS when he was here. He was also directed to also give us feedback on the same. Honorable Speaker, those two issues remain unanswered.
So that we don't convolute this, Chairman, I'm sure you gave undertakings to deliver statements on those two issues, on blood bags and the ICU payments. Go and dust out those statements. You can give them on Wednesday, but Tuesday is about BCG. Thank you. Next, Titus Hamala, Lurambi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 44, Section 2 and C, I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding expansion of the Kakamega-Mumias Road and the adjoining feeder roads. Honorable Speaker, the Kakamega-Mumias Road is a vital transport network in Western Kenya, connecting Kakamega County to Vihiga County, Nandi County, Kisumu County, Bungoma County, and Busia County, through which the road ultimately links to the Busia border. The road also contributes to local economics, facilitating regional trade, connecting key commercial towns in the region, and facilitating transportation from transportation of farm produce, particularly sugarcane, to the country's major sugar companies, namely Mumias Sugar Company and West Kenya Sugar Companies, including Butali Sugar Company. Despite the significance of the Kakamega-Mumias Road, it has never been expanded to meet the increasing traffic demand since it was tarmacked many years ago when I was in primary school. Honorable Speaker, the narrowness of the Kakamega-Mumias Road, coupled with the deplorable conditions, especially along the areas, namely Mumuyukwe, Maondo, Eshisiru Center, Stand Muogo, and Shibuli section, has been contributing to fatal accidents involving sugarcane tractors and trailers, motorists, including motorcyclists and pedestrians. Further, various feeder roads to the Kakamega-Mumias Road, particularly the Eshisiru Esumeia Bushiri Road, classified Road C1, is impassable. Of critical concern is the Isasala Bridge along the road, which has partially collapsed but remains in active use, posing a serious risk to motorists and lives. There is an urgent need to expand the Kakamega-Mumias Road and upgrade its key feeder roads, particularly the Ishisiru Esumeia Bushiri Road, classified Road 1, including restoration of the collapsing Isasala Bridge so as to improve safety and support seamless economic growth in the region. Honorable Speaker, It is against this background that I request a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure on the following. 1, the plans by the Ministry of Roads and Transport and the Kenya National Highways Authority to expand the Kakamega-Mumias Road and fully recarpet the surface instead of the periodic patchwork maintenance works that yields low value for public funds. And number 2, the immediate interventions by the Kenya Rural Roads Authority KERA to upgrade the Shisiru-Esumeya-Bushiri Road classified road C1 and reconstruct the collapsed Isasala Bridge along the said road, including financing mechanisms and the projected timelines. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chair, Roads and Transport. GK, when can you bring a response?
In 2 weeks, Honorable Speaker, we will build the statement, the response.
2 weeks?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Joseph Gitari, member Kirinyaga Central. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Request for statement regarding the status of rehabilitation of roads in Kagumo Town, Kirinyaga Central Constituency. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding the status of rehabilitation of the roads in Kagumo Town in Kirinyaga Central Constituency. Honorable Speaker, the road in Kagumo Town, especially Gateway and Trojan area in Kirinyaga Central Constituency, experience high volume of traffic due to tea transportation, health services, activities and market centers located within the said area. As a result, there is a need of rehabilitation of the roads within the area, including installation of speed bumps and zebra crossing to ensure the safety of residents and road users. This will prevent road accidents and enhance economic growth in the area. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure on measures being put in place to rehabilitate the poor roads and install speed bumps and zebra crossings on the roads around Gateway Trojan area in Kagumo Town, Kirinyaga Central Constituency. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
DK, when can you bring a response?
Honorable Speaker, in about 2 to 3 weeks, should
2
be able
weeks.
to respond.
We'll give you 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Honorable members, allow me to acknowledge the following. In the Speaker's Gallery, we have Njiri School. Is it called Njiri or Njiris? Njiri. Njiris. Njiri School from Kigumo, Murang'a. In the public gallery, we have Nyabondo Boys Junior from Nyakach, Kisumu, and Narok High School from Narok North, Narok. On my behalf and behalf of the House, we welcome the students, their teachers, and those accompanying them to the House of Parliament. Member for Kigumo has asked me to welcome Njeri School. You can do so on behalf of all your colleagues from whose jurisdictions we have schools. Go ahead. Give the honorable.
All right, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to welcome Jiri and Honorable Speaker, because that school is named after the senior chief, Jiri Wakaraja. That's why it was renamed to Jiri. That is his actual name. So I want to welcome them to Parliament and all the other schools that are attending this session. I'd like them to be inspired so that they can aspire to be members, they can aspire to be great members of this country once they see the session and the people who are contributing and the debate that goes on here. I also want to wish them well as they travel back to school and all the schools here on behalf of Parliament and members of Parliament. Asante, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Bwana Munyoro. Responses from education. Is the chair education here to respond to a request by Honorable Robert Mbui? Education. Rebecca, are you ready? Go ahead. Give Honorable Tonkei the mic. There's one next to you. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we have a statement to the answer question which I was asked by Honorable Mbui, who actually attended the meeting where the CS was summoned. Honorable Speaker, the question was on the status of the disbursement of capitation funds to schools. Honorable Speaker, the question has 4 components, which we wish to respond to as follows. A report on the status of disbursements of capitation funds to public schools for the first term of 2025, including the total amount of currently owed to schools due to delay in disbursements of funds. Honorable Speaker, every enrolled learner in public primary schools is entitled to receive a total of Kenya shilling 1,420 per year. The funds are disbursed to schools at the beginning of every term through 2 bank accounts as summarized below. Term and percentages, account 1 and account 2, 50% in term 1, which is 365, and 50, 344.50. 30% in term 2, 219.30 in account 1, and account 2, 206.70. 20% in term 3, which is 146.20, and account 2, 137.80. Total is 731.00, and account 2, 689.00. Out of account 1, Kenya shilling 75 per learner was deducted and sent to the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development for purchase of textbooks. Out of account 2, Kenya shilling 20 per learner was deducted for co-curricular activities. For term 1 of 2025, the ministry disbursed 4,127,304.81 shillings for a total of 5,812,164 learners. This was made up of Kenya shilling 1,688,433,642 for account 1, and Kenya shilling 1,886,676 and 0.99 for account 2. There is no money owed to schools for term 1. All the money was disbursed in January 2025. Honorable Speaker, the approved rate of capitation for junior schools is Kenya shilling 15,043 per learner per year. For term 1 of 2025, Kenya shilling 15,323,832,631.92 was disbursed for 2,994,201 learners in 20,350 junior schools across the country. This amount is 50% of the annual capitation due to the schools. The entire amount was disbursed in January 2025. Honorable Speaker, at the secondary school level, the approved rate of capitation is Kenya shilling 22,244 per learner per year. For term 1 of 2025, the ministry disbursed a total of Kenya shilling 28,824,649,743.76 for 3,268,000 616 learners across 9,513 schools. Each learner received Kenya shilling 8,816.61. The disbursement was 50% of the budgeted amount in the printed estimates. This was done in 2 tranches. The first Kenya shilling 14,412,324,871.88 was sent in January 2025, with the second of the same amount sent in March 2025. It is important to note that the allocation of Kenya shilling 28,824,649,743.76 reflects a budgetary deficit of Kenya shilling 7,528,897,408.24. The resource requirement at the approved rate of capitation is Kenya shilling 36,353,547.152. The second part of the question is the capitation amount allocated per child for the examinations and activity fees for primary and secondary schools. Honorable Speaker, no part of the capitation is allocated for national examinations. National examinations are funded independent of capitation from the budget allocated to the National Examination Council. In primary schools, the capitation amount allocated for co-curricular activities is Kenya shilling 76.44 per learner per year. Out of this, Honorable Speaker, Kenya shilling 40 is retained at the headquarters to be used in running co-curricular activities at the national level, while 36.44 is sent directly to the schools. In junior schools, Kenya shilling 700 has been allocated to curricular activities and shilling 647 for internal assessment per learner per year. For secondary schools, the capitation allocated per learner for activities fee in term 1 of 2025 or Kenya shilling 525. The allocation for teaching and learning materials was Kenya shilling 1,643. The allocation for internal examination is 11% of the sum provided for tuition. Honorable Speaker, the third part of the question was the measures being taken by the Ministry of Education to ensure that disbursement of capitation fund is timely. Honorable Speaker, the Ministry has taken steps to ensure timely disbursement of capitation to schools. From the beginning of the year 2023-2024 financial year, capitation disbursements are done on a timely basis in the ratio of 50 to 30 to 20 for term 1, term 2, and term 3 respectively. This was a change from the previous practice under which disbursements were done on a quarterly basis without reference to the school terms. The ministry requests for funds from the exchequer.
Rebecca, too long.
Yeah, I'm almost done, Honorable Speaker.
Go ahead.
Honorable Speaker, the ministry requests for funds at least 3 weeks before schools open. And for funds, for example, as requested on 25th, 2025, once the ministry receives the funds, and all that is explained in the statement. Honorable Speaker, there is also the existence of any planned review to the amount of capitation funds allocated per child in light of the current harsh economic conditions. Honorable Speaker, and this, the committee is aware of this, and the entire House is aware of this, that there is need to change the current allocation as the conditions of economic conditions have changed, so there is need to review this. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, the ministry urges the committee to support the ministry ensuring that the budget allocation is adequate as approved rates of capitation. That is, the National Assembly is created for that. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Robert Mbui, she says you also attended a meeting with the committee and the minister?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I did.
Okay.
And I was extremely disappointed, Mr. Speaker, because there are no solutions to the problems that are facing our children. You know, any nation that doesn't take education of its children seriously is actually on the wrong trajectory. And Mr. Speaker, you remember even our forefathers actually were identified ignorance as one of the enemies of development and the future. Now, Mr. Speaker, the reason I was raising this matter of capitation was to establish whether it is enough for the education of our children. Mr. Speaker, 1,420 shillings per primary school child is what is being offered currently. And Mr. Speaker, that money is supposed to cater for all the activities that go into education. It's supposed to deal with internal examinations. It's supposed to deal with, things to do with sports. It's supposed to deal with drama. It's supposed to deal with music. And Mr. Speaker, it really wasn't enough. Now, Mr. Speaker, I was hoping that the CS would have been able to provide a solution. And I was thinking that one of the things that is facing as a problem, Mr. Speaker, is that education as per the Basic Education Act and as per the Constitution of Kenya is free. Basic education is meant to be free. We also even amended the law and made exams also free. So, Mr. Speaker, I wanted him to give us a solution because the Act says that the principals and the head teachers in Kenya cannot be able to levy any charge to the parents. But, Mr. Speaker, every single school in Kenya, actually parents are still paying. Now, unless we come up with a policy to address this matter, what will happen is that some schools will ask for 100, others 200, others 300, others 400 and more. So, Mr. Speaker, a policy would help us to have a standardized amount that is charged for every parent so that if we cannot afford it, then we make it fair. So, Mr. Speaker, I just feel that we need better answers and we need a solution to this problem.
Tongai.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It's true that Honorable Mbui was he attended the committee meeting where the CS was. And we all agree that, Honorable Speaker, it is this house that appropriates money for schools. And we all agree that the CS has no solution to this, but the house has a solution of dispersing funds to the ministry so that they can give our schools money. Because, Honorable Speaker, I was in record asking the CS, how free is education in Kenya? And Honorable Speaker, because, every time our parents are asked to pay money, it's because the CS has no way to give, he has no money by himself. The parents and the principals need the schools to run. Honorable Speaker, looking at his question, it is true that the questions that were asked are partly answered. But if we could also allocate money for them to be able to give the money that is intended to be given for disbursement, then, Honorable Mbui, I think we'd be in a better position.
Yes, Mwenje.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on the same issue, one of the concerns that we have, Honorable Speaker, is that students who are registered on NEMIS, the money comes based on the number of students registered on NEMIS. There's been an intentional deregistration of students on NEMIS so that the ministry sends less money to the schools. Honorable Speaker, one of my schools in OJWANG'S Primary, I'll just give an example, was sent 59,000, a school that has 3,000 students. How do you send 59,000 as capitation? Honorable Speaker, we also need the Ministry of Education to be clear. There is this notion that they send half the amount and retain the other half. Can they clarify that position so that school heads can understand that this is the amount that is coming? That if they say they are giving 15,000 to JSS students, you're only going to send 7,500 and the rest you're going to retain. Make that clear rather than school heads expecting the full 15,000, which will never come. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Bowen first, then Owen. Bowen, not Owen.
Mr. Speaker, Owen took over my name. Mr. Speaker, in the last supplementary, the chair of education is on record in this house. There was an allocation of 100 million Kenya shillings, if you check in our records, in the supplementary too. And Mr. Speaker, the chair of education told us then that the money was going towards upgrading the NEMIS to make sure that all the students in this country are captured properly so that capitation money, when they are sending from the ministry, they are sending from a point of information and the point of, based on the numbers of students in every school. So it is proper if the chair of education
can tell us whether that money was utilized to upgrade the NEMIS and whether the NEMIS is actually serving the Ministry of Education well in terms of recording the number of students per school and also keeping track the capitation we are giving to our schools.
Tongay. Let's hear Owen Bayer first. Tongay, not those.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to join, I would like to join Robert Mbuyi on this matter. Honorable Speaker, I would like to request you to ask the Wamboka-led committee to investigate schools, especially the park committee led by Wamboka, to investigate schools, because in my constituency, I have this problem. Money is sent to schools. Immediately that money lands there, a letter comes in from the sub-county education officer saying that now send us this amount of money for this purpose, per student 10 shillings or 5 shillings. After some time, another letter comes from the county education office saying send us 10 shillings per student for every school for games. When the students want to go for games, parents are asked to bring money so that the students can be facilitated to go for games. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, the issue of NEMIS. I have a school that has 1,000 students, but the ministry sends money for only 500 students. You ask, why haven't the other students been given? They will tell you they don't have birth certificate. Honorable Speaker, if you remember, I brought this matter here in this chamber, and the minister then said, no birth certificates will be required. Students who do not have birth certificate by virtue of the fact that they were not provided for them are denied an opportunity to access education, and they are sent away, they are sent home, just because they don't have a birth certificate. They are told, bring in money. Thirdly, Honorable Speaker, when it comes to examination, if you ask the Ministry of Education, have you sent money for exams? The ministry will say we have sent money per student for exams. The people in the education sector will go and get a person who provides exams at an exorbitant price, and they come back and tell the head teachers, tell each of your students to give money, and the students are sent home to go and collect money for exams. Honorable Speaker, unless this parliament takes a decisive step and requests a special audit, a forensic audit in these schools and the education officers in the counties, we will never get an answer and our students will suffer. Honorable Speaker, what the minister will say here in Nairobi is different from what is on the ground. Parliament must go down, investigate schools. How come Ministry of Education runs some special accounts? You know, they open accounts where they say KEPSHA, for example, Kenya Primary School Heads Association, are given 10 shillings per student, and that money is sent to a KEPSHA account, and they sit down and share that money among officials of KEPSHA and officials of the ministry at the county levels. Honorable Speaker, this is what happens, and that's why our kids keep on being sent home, so that they go collect money to boost certain kitties in schools. Honorable Speaker, we need to come to the end of this by ensuring that we investigate per county, per constituency, per sub-county, Honorable Speaker, so that the truth comes out. Otherwise, our children will continue to be sent home for exams, for sports, for PTA, for things that are mundane, they are not important to the education of the child. Honorable Speaker, I feel very pained about this because I see every time happening to schools. We must bring a stop. Money sent by government to schools must be used for what it was sent for, not to enrich education officers in the counties and head teachers and other officials. Honorable Speaker.
Tongay, you've heard that?
I have heard it, Honorable Speaker.
What's your response?
Honorable Speaker, you know, for the not examination, the one for activity fee, we agreed with the CS that it's time they review the percentages they are sending to schools. Because, you know, leaving 40 shillings here at the headquarters and giving out around 10 shillings to the students at the lower level, Honorable Speaker, that money is too little. And, you know, as students go upward, they are fewer than when they are beginning the activities down there. Honorable Speaker, I still request that this House allocates funds to the Ministry of Education because the principals and the head teachers have no problem. The problem is the money they are given. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Tongei, you can't ask for more when the little you are getting is being applied badly. Have you heard what Owen Baya is saying?
I have heard, Honorable.
What you do, Honorable Tongei, I know you are not the minister, so you may not have ready answers.
Yes, true.
You go back and bring responses to these very serious allegations that the money is sent to schools from the ministry. Then the schools are instructed to send some of the money to education officers in the counties, to KEPSHA, and so on and so forth. KEPSHA is not an association of students, so they have no business taxing students. It's an association of teachers, and so on and so forth. I think we all know what goes on in the education sector. And you can see how many of your colleagues are agitating to ask questions on this. I'll give another 2, then we go to something else. You'll extract the order paper, share with the ministry, and ask for additional information which you can bring to the House in another 2 weeks. Ngogoyo. Ngogoyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mine is on the name is Mr. Speaker. Mheshimiwa Mwenje raised the Honorable Mwenje raised the issue of deregistration, which she has not answered. In the answer, can she provide the issue of...
Tongei, these questions are being asked to you.
The issue of upgrading the system, Mr. Speaker, in my constituency, most of the schools are about 4,000, 5,000, and 3,000. Majority of those schools in the NAMIS are registered 1,800 students. And we have raised the issue of deregistration of people who are already in the NAMIS, and in your answer, you did not provide. I want to request you, Mr. Speaker, can she provide, after the supplementary 2, where we provided 100 million, and the minister himself said you no longer need a birth certificate to register a child in NAMIS, why is it that they do not deliver 100% of the monies for students in a school, while it is in their statements that you have 3,000 students in a particular school? And I'll give you Ngata Rongai Primary. It has 4,200. Up to date, they receive capitation for 1,200 students. Mr. Speaker, I would want to know what's the problem with the NAMIS, which we have provided resources. And thank you very much, Owen Baya, for listening to the ground.
Yes, Honorable Gashagwa. Kerema, sorry. Yes, you and the member from Ndaragwa look alike.
No. Speaker, I cannot be Wamunyoro in any sense. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It's very unfortunate on what we are discussing about, Honorable Speaker, as pertains to the children whom we have mainly in our primary schools. For when you are driving along a certain primary school in your constituency and you find very young children going home, and when you ask why, you are told is that they have been sent away from school to go and collect some levies which are unconstitutional levies as pertains to the Minister of Education. Speaker, if you look at it, we have directors of education in our sub-counties. We have TSC directors. These two are duplicating work for one another. And if you look at it very well, the Ministry of Education, at the time they are sending the directors at the sub-counties, they should cater for them of how they are going to survive and how they are going to manage their own affairs without necessarily per se asking the primary schools or the heads of the schools for money, that little money which they are sent as capitation money. But if you look at it, is that the money is demanded for all activities for the ministry, which is very unfair, because you will find that a kid is sent home to go and collect some levies, which you cannot find it within the Act of Education 4. It is provided that education is free, basic education is free. We are in a problem whereby the government
agreed to have free education, and we are unable to meet that obligation of free education. So I'm praying, Honorable Speaker, that interpretation of work, which we have created parallel bodies, which are borrowed, be looked upon so that at least we can have children having a free atmosphere of learning. Speaker, if it's a secondary school, if it's a principal who has sent a secondary school student home, as an MP, you can be able to raise up your phone, call the principal, tell them that bursary is coming, only the student at school.
Yes.
But when it comes to primary school, we cannot even give them bursaries. It's a big problem.
Point made, Honorable Tongei. 2 weeks, you bring additional information, and those with issues, you will follow up there. Honorable Joseph Tonui's request, Chair Housing, Planning, Works and Urban. Manduku. I thought the chair is Johanna Ngeno.
Mr. Speaker, I'm answering on behalf of the chair.
Go on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A request for the funding of the Olengoroni Stadium was made in the year 2011. The procurement process was complete, and on the 12th of November 2012, a contract was executed between the then Office of the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Local Government and Twin Construction Company at the quoted tender sum of 290,643,668.93 for a period of 24 months, with the intended date of completion being 20th November 2014. The scope of works entailed the construction of a perimeter fence, boundary wall, retaining walls, soccer pitch, 4-number public dias, pavilions, driveways, parking bays, ablution blocks, and other facilities. The above works were supposed to be delivered within the prescribed contract period, with the assumption that both parties were to be diligent in exercising their respective contractual obligations. However, this was not the scenario, because over the entire implementation phase, there were delays by payment. In fact, certificate number 1 was delayed for more than 1.5 years, while certificate number 2 was delayed for another half a year. The above delay was in contravention of clause 23.3 of the conditions of the contract that stipulated, and I quote, "The employer shall pay the contractor the amount certified by the project manager within 30 days of issuance of each certificate." The payment delays were mainly occasioned by 1, lack of exchequer support to the project arising from minimum or constrained budgetary provisions for four consecutive financial years, that is 2015-2016, 2016-2017, 2017-2018, and 2018-2019. 2, the transfer of devolved functions and corresponding funds to the county governments, Olengoroni being one of them. However, the county governments did not take up the functions of the stadium, as the contract was between the contractor and the national government. And 3, the movement of the Urban Development Department from the then Ministry of Local Government to the Ministry of Devolution and Planning, and again to the Ministry of Lands, and to the current State Department of Housing. It is under these circumstances, Mr. Speaker, that I wish to respond to Honorable Tonui's question as follows. 1, the terms under which the construction of the Olengoroni Stadium was transferred from the national government to the county government of Nakuru. And the response is as follows. Following the mutual termination of the contractor, the county government of Nakuru assumed the responsibility of securing the site until budgetary allocations for the repackaging and completion of the project. Hence, there was no transfer of construction responsibility to the county government of Nakuru. 2, details of the contract sum, amount paid, balance and transfer funds to the county government, and whether the action was lawful. And the response as follows. The contract was for Kenya shillings 290,643,668.93. At the time of mutual termination, the contractor had been paid a total sum of 120,446,886.20, thus leaving a balance of Kenya shillings 170,196,782.73. There was therefore no transfer of funds to the county government on this project. as has been stated, the mutual termination was a process occasioned by lack of exchequer support to sustain the contract. Number 3, the reasons leading the contractor abandoning the construction site, having received funds, and what legal action has been taken to enforce compliance with the contract terms or recover misuse of public funds. The response, the contractor was released from performance through mutual termination after it became evident that the contract was untenable given the circumstances. The contractor was paid on the basis of measured works, and hence no public funds were lost. Further, mutual termination was undertaken within the provisions of the contract. And lastly, the specific measures or plans put in place to ensure the completion of the stadium of Olengroni. It has been the ministry's desire to ensure that all projects initiated are completed to ensure that there's value for money. However, the main challenge has been lack of budgetary support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Another statement. The next statement requested was the one by Okay. Honorable Joseph Tanui, are you satisfied with the report?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to state that I am satisfied with the response. I also want to say, Madam Speaker, that I have information from reliable sources that the construction of OJWANG'S Stadium will be starting very soon. Thank you so much.
Now, next we go to the response for the statement requested by Honorable Abdul Haron, member for Mandera South, from the Chairperson of National Cohesion and Equal Opportunity. Honorable Adan, are you ready with your statement?
Yes.
Okay, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I have a response which is very voluminous, but I have made I've made the report a little bit short so that we can save also time without interfering with its content. Honorable Speaker, the Clerk of the National Assembly, via letter NADABC 2503 of 19 May 2025, wrote to the Public Service Commission conveying a request from Honorable Abdul Haro, MP Mandera South constituency, through the chair of the Committee on National Cohesion and Equal Opportunity for a statement regarding ethnic representation in public service for the financial year 2022-2023, 2023-2024. The committee received the following responses on the issues raised. A report on the national proportionate population shared of each of the 46 ethnic community, including the communities whose representation in the public service. The answer is proportionate to the national population share in the financial year 2022-2023. A total of 35 ethnic communities were proportionately represented to the national population, and they are shown on the table number 1. And additionally, 2 groups stated as non-Kenyans and not stated were also proportionate to the national population share. These are Aware, Bajun, Boran, Burji, Dashinat, Ndorobo, Elmolo, Embu, Gabra Goshi, El Chamus,
Kamba, Kenyan Arabs, Kenyan Asian, Kenyan European, Kenyan So Stated, Konso Kuria, Makonde, Mbere, Meru, Nubi, Oromo, Pokomo, Rendile, Sakuye, Samburu, Suba, Swahili, Taita, Taveta, Teso, Tharaka, and Malakote and Wayu. Honorable Speaker, in the financial year 2023-2024, a total of 37 ethnic communities were proportionate to the national population, and they are shown on the table number 2 below. And these are Awer, Bajun, Boran, Burji, Dashinach, Ndorobo, Elmolo, Embu, Gabra, Goshi, Ilchamus, Kenya Arab, Kenya Asian, Kenya European, Kenya So Stated, Kisii, Konso, Kuria, Masai, Makonde, Mbere, Meru, Nubi, Ormo, Bokomo, Rendile, Sakuye, Samburu, Suba, Swahili, Taita, Taveta, Teso, Tharaka, Turkana, Malakote, and Wayu. Honorable Speaker, on the question of those who exceed the proportion share, in the financial year 2022-23, 4 ethnic communities exceeded their share. These are Kalenjin, Kikuyu, Kisii, and Luo. In the financial year 2023-24, 3 ethnic communities exceeded, and these are Kalenjin, Kikuyu, and Luo, exceeded their proportion share of the national population. Honorable Speaker, on the ones which are below their proportion, in the financial year 2022-2023, 5 ethnic communities are below. These are Kenyan, Somali, Luya, Masai, Mijikenda, and Turkana. In the financial year 2023-2024, 4 ethnic communities were below their proportionate to the population. These are Kamba, Kenyan Somali, Luya, and Mijikenda. Honorable Speaker, communities not represented in the public service at all. Communities not represented in the public service at all. In the financial year 2022-2023, 2 communities, that is the Halo and Kenyan Americans, were not represented in the public service at all. Honorable Speaker, the report on the staff deployed by Public Service Commission detailing designated and job group or job scale and the ethnicity. As per 21st May 2025, the Commission had a total of 276 staff from 30 ethnic communities, comprising of 138 male and 138 females, translating to 50% each. And in the post at the Commission are against approved staff establishment of 491, indicating a variance of 215. The 30 ethnic communities represented in these scales are Bajun, Boran, Embu, Gabra, Garre, Kalenjin, Kamba, Kikuyu, Kisii, Kuria, Luya, Luo, Masai, Mbere, Meru, Mijikenda, other Kenyans, Bokomo, Bokot, Rendile, Sabot, Sakuye, Samburu, Somali so stated, Suba, Swahili, Taita, Teso, Tharaka, and Turkana. Honorable Speaker,
Honorable Chairperson, how much longer is your report? Because if you have an executive summary, you can go through it and then members can be given copies.
Of all the new appointments and promotion made in the ministries and departments for the financial year 2021-2023, new appointments in the ministries and departments for financial year is in 2022-2023 a total of 12,992 officers were appointed, comprising of 5,484 female and 7,508 male. The list is as indicated below in terms of their clans or in terms of their ethnicity. Finally, I'm trying to rush. Promotions of officers in the ministries, departments for the financial year 2022-2023. In that financial year, a total of 22,754 officers were promoted across 307 ministry departments, comprising of 8,256.
Yes, okay, Honorable Chairperson, allow me to recognize the schools that are seated in the public gallery because they'll end up leaving before we do. So I wish to recognize the presence of the following schools: Chogoria Boys High School from Maara constituency, Tharaka Nithi, and Narok High School from Narok North constituency, Narok County. On behalf of the substantive Speaker and the members of Parliament, we welcome you to Parliament. Thank you.
The list is again as shown. Copies will be shared on ethnicity. Honorable Speaker, the status of Draft Public Service Commission Affirmative Action Regulation of 2024, the Commission concluded the Draft Public Service Commission Affirmative Action Regulation and sought views from the general public, also specific targeted stakeholders, giving a period of 1 month for the receipt of the views. The period lapsed on 2nd of May 2025, and the Commission is currently in the process of analyzing the views received from the various stakeholders. Once they are all analyzed and incorporated, where possible, the Commission will undertake a stakeholder validation exercise and thereafter subject the draft to the Attorney General, submit the draft to the Attorney General before presenting it to the National Assembly Committee on Delegation of Legislation. Thank you so much.
Okay, next, honorable members, is the response to the question by Honorable Mark Mwenja, member for Embakasi, by the chairperson, Transport and Infrastructure. Who's representing the chairperson, Infrastructure? What's your point of order, Honorable Russell?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the person who sought for that statement is just sitting there comfortably. I'm not sure if he is happy with that response. But from those of us who are hearing, we are really worried that we live in Kenya. Maybe Abdullah Rom, you could give him time.
Yes, Honorable Bowen.
Madam Speaker, I listened to the response by the Honorable Chair for Cohesion and giving out the statistics on how communities have been employed in civil service.
how this tribe and that tribe got their share and others didn't get their share. Madam Speaker, even as he does that and or as he comes up with that report, as a committee, there are so many ways before you come up with your report. There are so many ways you have to check. There are so many things you have to check. You cannot tell us that if we ask for now for a position of a graduate engineer in town here, you will find there are so many number of Kikuyus here compared to people from Tana River or from Mandera. And you say, okay, because we have 10 or 50 positions, we want to give a Mandera 25 positions when there is no engineer from there. So we have to look at so many issues. So that's, I'm just giving an example. So, and also the population ratio. There are so many things we have to look into so that we don't say these other ones exceeded their shares. As long as they are Kenyans, Madam Speaker, we need to look into as long as they are Kenyans and qualified. They should be, all of them, they should stand a chance to be employed and given an opportunity to serve in this country. Not to say these people here, yes. Tarakaniti.
I think this debate, the most important thing is that members already have this, the report will be circulated and members can always raise the issue. Again, once they've read, they need to have read the report. With he needs to look at the report, read the percentages. I know he's talking about pro rata population, but that has to be something that only if we interrogate the report in depth. So we have agreed that we move to the next statement. Honorable GK, member for the chairperson, Transport and Infrastructure. No, the honorable member is stopped from contributing because he was sitting next to the chairperson. He forfeited his opportunity and it was taken up by Honorable Russell and others. Let's proceed. Honorable
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And though I'm on my feet to read the response to the statement requested by Honorable Mwenje, I want to agree with Honorable Kangogo that we should base employment at all times on merit and not tribalism. And if we continue this way, Honorable Speaker, we'll be perpetuating tribalism. Let us base employment on merit.
Honorable GK, we are not debating the statement. We said that will be for a later time. The report will be given to members.
Meanwhile, now I can respond to the statement, yes. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Mark Mwenje requested for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding the status of 24-25 work plan for the Kenya Rural Roads Authority and Kenya Urban Roads Authority. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Mwenje sought to, among other things, establish measures being taken by the government to ensure the work plan tendered for the financial year 24-25 are not suspended due to lack of funds. Measures being taken to ensure that the delay does not occasion pending bills and other charges that may result from breach of tender agreements. And 3, actions being taken to implement or being implemented by KERA and KURA to ensure that roads under their jurisdiction which are due for maintenance are not affected by the delay in disbursement of funds. Honorable Speaker, I have the response from the ministry dated 14th May 2025. And as you know, Honorable Speaker, this response has been overtaken by the events of last week, where we got a court ruling directing on what the ministry should do or KRB should do regarding RMRF 22 and 10% allocation. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to request that Honorable Mwenje allows me or should allow me to give a more current statement.
Order, Honorable Murugara and Honorable
next
Bowen.
week.
You can do the shouting match outside the chambers. Proceed,
Honorable
Jike.
Speaker, I want to request Honorable Mwenje to allow that I give a more current response next week, Wednesday or Thursday, because what I have here has been overtaken by the events of last week. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable, is the Honorable Susan Kiamba, member for Makueni here? He's already said that his report that he has is overtaken by events, so you'll only be speculating. You're having another chance next week when he comes. Yeah, member for Makueni, are you present? Okay, so we can proceed. Can the chairperson, transport and infrastructure, respond to that? Because we only respond if you are present.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the member for Makueni County, the Honorable Susan Kiamba, MP, requested for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding the status of Emali Ukia Road. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Kiamba sought to, among other things, establish one, a report on the current status of the Emali Ukia Road, including any maintenance of improvement works undertaken on the road and when they were undertaken. Two, the reason why tarmacking of the said road, which is of significant economic importance, has been delayed for decades despite repeated government commitments. And three, specific plans by the government to prioritize the tarmacking of Emali Ukia Road to ensure its long-term usability, including budget allocation and timelines for upgrading the said road. Honorable Speaker, regarding the current status of the Emali Ukia Road, including any maintenance of or improvement works undertaken on the road and when they were undertaken, the ministry submitted that Ukia Emali Road section is in motorable condition. The road recently underwent a 9-month routine maintenance contract that was completed in November 2024. A new routine maintenance contract is currently under procurement and works were expected to commence in May this year for the section between Ukia Dudune Center. The scope of works include: one, grading the carriageway for the full road length, that is 2 cycles within the contract period of 12 months, and B, spot graveling, and C, gabion protection works, and 3, culvert installation. 3, Kera has constructed 4.1 kilometers and done spot improvement of 1.64 kilometers. 4, regarding the reason why tarmacking of the said road, which is of significant economic importance, has been delayed for decades despite repeated government commitments, the ministry submitted that the road section has not been tarmacked due to unavailability of funds. And 5, regarding specific plans by the government to prioritize the tarmacking of Emali Ukia Road to ensure its long-term usability, including budget allocation and timelines for upgrading the said road, the ministry submitted that the road section has been designed to completion as part of the East Africa Economic Corridor and construction shall commence once funds become available. And finally, Honorable Speaker, the routine maintenance contract for Ukemari Road has not yet been signed or commenced, and therefore no payments have been made to any contractor. Honorable Speaker, I submit.
Member for Makueni, are you happy?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think on the first bit, I'm satisfied with the input. However, I'm wondering whether the chairman is not aware that in today's paper, it is already in the advert that the road is going to be tarmacked and we are in the procurement process. Is this a hog? Or are you aware that this process has reached? Or the money you are talking about, is it now there? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable GK, you can just...
Honorable Speaker, thank you for that information. Unfortunately, I don't read newspapers. So, but I'm happy that you have informed us.
Thank you. Let us move to the next one, which is the question by... What's your point of order? Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that's very worrying from the chairman, infrastructure and roads, because it is true, the same road, Madam Speaker, has been advertised for upgrade to bitumen. Yet, when you listen to his answer, he says there is no funds. Madam Speaker, why am I worried? Because in the supplemental one, we put money in roads. So, I'm wondering, is the chairman not aware through the ministry, roads or projects that are pending in the ministry, so that when it comes to give answer to this house, they are satisfactory to the members who ask? Because, Madam Speaker, members in this house don't ask questions for themselves. We are being listened by all Kenyans, by our constituents, and it's important for our chairman to give a satisfactory answer that a member can convey to the people who send to this august house. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay. The assumption is that the chairperson gets the information from the ministry, then conveys it to Parliament. So because they seem to be conflicting facts, maybe we give the chairman again to get back to the ministry and give another update next week. Then that way we can make progress. Then he can explain about the advert and what exactly is being done. So it will be your duty, Honorable GK, to get that information and bring it to the House.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for your guidance.
Next, Honorable Faisal Bada, are you here? Msambweni? Okay, so Transport and Infrastructure Chairperson, you can proceed to respond to that issue. Honorable Kareke, you're distracting the chairperson. He has a state report to make to the House on the issue of the frequency of road accidents along Likoni-Lungalunga Highway by member for Msambweni.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on Wednesday, 9th April 2025, the member from Msambweni, the Honorable Faisal Banda MP, requested for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding the high frequency of road accidents along the Likoni-Lungalunga Highway. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Member therefore sought to, among other things, establish, one, the immediate and long-term measures taken by the Ministry of Roads and Transport to mitigate the frequent road accidents along the Likoni-Lungalunga Highway, and two, the steps made by the Ministry to erect bumps, speed bumps, pedestrian crossings, and other preventive measures in these accident-prone areas as an intervention to reduce the frequency of accidents. And three, the plans in place to improve road signage, lighting, and enforcement of traffic regulations along the highway to enhance road safety for both motorists and pedestrians. Honorable Speaker, the committee received a response for the Ministry of Roads and Transport on 12 May 2025, which I now wish to make. Regarding road safety concerns along the said road, the ministry submitted that it is taking short and long-term measures to address them. In the long term, the ministry plans to comprehensively redesign and upgrade the road to meet safety standards. The procurement process for the design consultancy is currently underway under the multinational Bagamoyo Horohoro stroke Rungarunga Malindi Road Project funded by the African Development Bank. In the short term, the road is currently under performance-based contract that, among other things, incorporates road safety features like road markings and road signs in the scope of works to be implemented. On the measures taken by the ministry to reduce the frequency of accidents, the ministry, through the Kenya National Highway Authority, has identified locations along the road as priority areas for road safety enhancements based on reported accident trends, and the maintenance contractor has been directed to implement appropriate interventions, including the installation of rambo strips and or standard speed bumps, markings of pedestrians crossings, and erection of road signs. 6, with regards to the plans to improve road signage, lighting, and enforcement of traffic regulations along the highway to enhance road safety for both motorists and pedestrians, the ministry emphasized that enhancing road safety requires a collaborative approach that integrates engineering solutions, public education, and enforcement of traffic regulations. While the ministry, through its road agencies, primarily focuses on engineering interventions, it works closely with other government agencies to support public awareness and enforcement efforts. Additionally, Kenya has been progressively installing road signs through maintenance contracts. However, vandalism of these signs remains a significant challenge, particularly in the coastal region. To address these, the agency has started using signage made from non-steel materials to help mitigate vandalism. Honorable Speaker, I submit.
Okay, Honorable Faisal, are you satisfied?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The response is satisfactory, though I'm requesting the chair at least to give timelines on the short-term interventions by Kenya. Thank you.
I think that's duly noted by the chairperson. Shall endeavor to give you the short-term interventions. So now, honorable members, we shall return back to order number 10. And so next order.
Order number 10, motion. Report on the consolidated fund services expenditures for the estimate for the financial year 2025-2026.
Chairperson, Public Debt and Privatization, Honorable Shure.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg that this House adopts the report of the Public Debt and Privatization Committee on its consideration of the consolidated fund services for the budget estimates for financial year 25-26 laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 11th June 2025. Honorable Speaker, this marks the 7th report on the CFS expenditures presented and deliberated by the National Assembly and provides basis for the House to consider non-appropriated and mandatory expenditures of the national government. As such, appropriated and non-appropriated expenditures are considered accordingly. Honorable Speaker, I extend my sincere gratitude to all the diligent members of the Public Debt and Privatization Committee for their unwavering commitment in examining these estimates of expenditure and for tabling this report for deliberation today. Our appreciation also goes to the key stakeholders who contributed critical insights during the committee sessions and to the committee's secretariat for their support. Honorable Speaker, the Consolidated Fund Services expenditures are obligatory expenditures that are deducted directly from the Consolidated Fund and are not included in the annual appropriation bill, as stipulated in Article 2217 of the Kenyan Constitution. Today, these mandatory expenditures are the largest expenditures of the government. Honorable Speaker, CFS expenditures financial year 25-26 will amount to Kenya shillings 2.14 trillion, thus indicating a decrease of Kenya shillings 148 billion from Kenya shillings 2.28 trillion in the financial year 24-25. The committee observed that this decline, which will provide fiscal relief in the financial year 25-26, is largely attributed to reduced debt service costs and will provide much needed fiscal space that should be utilized prudently. Honorable Speaker, the financial year 25-26 CFX expenditures constitute of 1. Public debt service expenses at Kenya shillings 1.9 trillion. 2. Pension expenditures at Kenya shillings 234.9 billion. And 3. Salary allowances and miscellaneous expenditures at Kenya shillings 4.7 billion. Honorable Speaker, the review of the CFS expenditures for the financial year 25-26 presents a timely opportunity to realign our fiscal management strategies towards a long-term sustainability and growth. While debt service remains the dominant component, accounting for 89% of the CFS expenditures, a projected 7% decline offers a short-term fiscal reprieve. This window, though narrow, should be strategically leveraged to improve budget execution, invest in growth-enhancing sectors, and reduce the burden of non-discretionary expenditures. Honorable Speaker, in the financial year 25-26, public debt servicing is projected at Kenya shillings 1.9 trillion, comprising of Kenya shillings 1.3 trillion in domestic debt service and Kenya shillings 586.4 billion in external debt service. This reflects a Kenya shillings 140.67 billion from the financial year 24-25. The decline is mainly attributed to a significant drop in redemption costs by Kenya shillings 242.5 billion, although this is partially offset by a Kenya shillings 101.9 billion increase in interest payments. Honorable Speaker, interest payments for total debt will reach Kenya shillings 1.1 trillion, while maturing debt will amount to Kenya shillings 803.7 billion. The high interest obligation will account for 40% of ordinary revenue, underscoring the growing cost of debt and its implication for fiscal space. Honorable Speaker, Kenya's fiscal outlook reflects a notable reallocation of public spending between financial year 2015 to 2016 and financial year 2025 to 2026. Interest payments as a share of GDP is projected to increase from 3.2 to 5.7, while development expenditures will decline from 7.2% to 3.5%. This inverse trend signals a structural crowding out effect, where escalating debt service obligations are displacing capital investment in infrastructure, education, and other development-enabling sectors. Honorable Speaker, the opportunity cost is notable as resources that could stimulate economic transformation and improved welfare are increasingly diverted towards servicing past borrowing. The broader macroeconomic impact is reflected in the decline of total investment as a share of GDP from 19.5% financial year 2015-2016 to just 4.1% for the financial year 25-26. Such underinvestment undermines capital formation, lowers the marginal productivity of labor, and reduces the country's long-term growth potential. Honorable Speaker, pension expenditures, on the other hand, are projected at Kenya shillings 234.9 billion in the financial year 25-26, reflecting a Kenya shillings 11.75 billion increase from Kenya shillings 223.1 billion in the financial year 24-25. This growth stems from 1. Kenya shillings 6.55 billion rise in ordinary pension payments, and 2. Kenya shillings 7.74 billion increase in commuted pensions. However, the performance of pension disbursement continues to be affected by slow exchequer releases and system downtimes. Honorable Speaker, salaries compensation for constitutional and independent office holders is projected to increase by Kenya shillings 584.64 million, growing from Kenya shillings 4.08 billion for the financial year 24-25 to Kenya shillings 4.73 billion financial year 25-26. The primary driver of this increase is Kenya shillings 543.13 million allocation for judicial salaries, hardship allowance, and arrears. Honorable Speaker, arising from this consideration of the estimates and submissions from stakeholders, the committee made pertinent observations, including that there is a need to address challenges in pension disbursement in order to take care of our pensioners, enhance cash flow coordination in order to improve budget execution, and that the over-reliance on domestic borrowing requires practical and well-sequenced reforms. The reforms in reference, Honorable Speaker, include strengthening Treasury's cash debt management functions, accelerating the rollout of the Treasury single account, and institutionalizing frameworks that ensure timely counterpart funding and prudent online practices. Such measures are essential to improving liquidity, reducing commitment fees, and enhancing the credibility of the national budget. Honorable Speaker, the committee also noted the need to rebalance borrowing sources and to tap into alternative financing, including grants, climate finance, and concessional loans. We also cautioned that while instruments like securitization may provide liquidity, they should be used carefully to avoid undermining fiscal consolidation efforts that might affect public debt sustainability. Honorable Speaker, after our deliberations on the estimates of the consolidated fund services under the budget estimates for the financial year 25-26 and consultation with various stakeholders, the committee therefore gives the following recommendations for consideration by this House. 1. That in order to ensure full in-year pension disbursement, the clearance of pending obligations, the National Treasury should, within 30 days of the adoption of this report, implement an actionable framework to resolve delays in exchequer releases and address system downtimes that disrupt the processing of pensions disbursement. 2. That, in line with prior resolutions of the National Assembly, the National Treasury should expedite the implementation of the Treasury single account to consolidate idle government cash balances, improve liquidity management, and lower the government's borrowing cost through more predictable cash flow management. 3. That to ensure full and timely disbursement of donor loan financing and avoid incurrence of commitment fees, the National Treasury should ring-fence domestic counterpart funding from frequent supplementary budget reallocations and make counterpart funding provisions for loan agreements entered to mid-year. 4. That to minimize the opportunity cost arising from waived on-lent loans and the payment of called-up government guarantees, the National Treasury should, within 60 days, formulate a standardized framework for determining interest rates on lent funds and the repayment of called-up guaranteed loans. This framework should be aligned with the market benchmarks on interest rates and credit worthiness. 2, formulate enforcement mechanism to ensure timely repayments and reduce the risk of defaults by institutions benefiting from government financial support. 5, that the National Treasury should adopt and enforce performance-based benchmarks and disbursements readiness protocols to prevent the accumulation of undrawn external loans, which continue to attract costly commitment fees. No new loan agreement should be executed without full compliance with the performance-based benchmarks and disbursement readiness protocols. 6, that to reduce reliance on debt and enhance access to alternative financing, the National Treasury should, within 60 days of adoption of this report, develop and publish a comprehensive national strategy for mobilizing non-debt financial resources, that is including grants, climate finance, and other concessional funding. Honorable Speaker, this report is not only a reflection of the current fiscal pressures, it is also a call to action. With coordinated effort, strengthened institutions, and adherence to the fiscal discipline, Kenya can navigate the present constraints and lay a firmer foundation for inclusive and resilient economic growth. Honorable Speaker, with that, I beg to move, and I request Honorable Irene, the Vice Chair of the committee, to second. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much. Yes, proceed. Give her the mic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion on the consideration of the expenditures under the Consolidated Fund Services for the financial year 2025-2026 as ably moved by our chairperson. Honorable Speaker, the report before us is a product carefully analysis guided by our constitutional obligation to provide oversight of our public finances, including discretionary expenditures that are not subject to annual appropriation. I commend the chairperson and the committee members for the rigorous scrutiny applied to these estimates. Honorable Speaker, this year's CFS allocation stands at 2.14 trillion, a slight reduction from the previous year, Kenya shillings 2.2 trillion, largely due to a decline in debt service cost. This presents a small but strategic window for fiscal relief, which should be used wisely to ease liquidity pressures and boost priority development investments. Honorable Speaker, public debt service at Kenya shillings 1.9 trillion remains the single largest expenditure, constituting 89% of the CFS. While the decline in service cost is welcome, it is temporary. The underlying growth in debt stock still possesses a long-term risk to fiscal sustainability. Honorable Speaker, the committee's recommendation, including reforms in fast-tracking the establishment of the Treasury single account, timely pension disbursement, and strengthened control over counterpart funding are aimed at improving fiscal efficiency, liquidity, and credibility. Further, Honorable Speaker, we support calls for diversifying our fiscal deficit financing options by tapping into non-debt sources such as grants, public-private partnerships, and climate finance to reduce the cost of debt service. Kenya development path must not be derailed by over-reliance on expensive debt. In conclusion, this report lays out a clear path to strengthen fiscal governance and reduce structures, rigidities that undermine budget execution. I urge this House to adopt the committee's recommendation. With those few remarks, I second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Public Debt and Privatization Committee on its consideration of the Consolidated Fund Services for the budget estimates for the financial year 2025-2026, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 11th June 2025. Honorable members, I think I'll give an opportunity. Those who want to contribute, please press the intervention button. Okay, I'll give a chance to Honorable Quayer.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you for this opportunity to support this report from our committee that is on consolidated fund services. And Madam Speaker, just for purposes of bringing to attention of members, CFS expenditures that are not appropriated in this House, but then that are brought to the attention of the House for passage and adoption. And Mr. Speaker, you realize that CFS expenditure consists of pensions, repayment of debts, and salaries that go to independent commissions, and the salary of the President, the Deputy President. And Madam Speaker, the biggest expenditure of the government is CFS. You realize that we have a budget of about 4.4 trillion, but half of it is going to repayment of debts, and of course pensions, and payment of salaries of independent commissions and the offices, the constitutional offices. Madam Speaker, this brings the million-dollar question to this House as to how we are managing our finances and our debts. You realize that chunk of our revenue is going to repayment of debt. And in this, Madam Speaker, 1.9 trillion, the largest component is going to repayment of interest rates and commitment fees. Loans that have been signed but have not been uptaken simply because either the entities that are expected to appropriate or to absorb the same have not been in a position to uptake, and therefore we get up to a place whereby we are paying commitment fees to our lenders that has become now quite a critical expenditure in CFS. Madam Speaker, something else that we're able to look into as we're engaging the National Treasury is that one of the loans that has been taken over by the government of Kenya on behalf of an entity that the government guaranteed, and that is Kenya Airways, is that loan has been novated to the extent that now the government of Kenya has taken up to pay that loan. But Madam Speaker, we engaged as a committee and asked very pertinent questions. Why would the government of Kenya be paying debts on behalf of profit-making entities like Kenya Airways because they are now making profits? Yet, their burden is being passed over to Kenyans to pay at a premium rate. Madam Speaker, it is not just unacceptable, but something that maybe we need to interrogate further as to why members or investors in Kenya Airways would be enjoying dividends and pays, yet they cannot meet their obligation to pay up for loans that they took. Madam Speaker, well, it has not been captured in this CFS as a standalone loan that has been taken over, but of course we know that that has happened. And maybe in the near future, I believe that this committee will be bringing a report on the same. Madam Speaker, the next frontier that we realized is the issue of securitization, whereby the government now is taking advance loans based on a promise to pay from our collections, especially the fuel levy. But we also realized that the same is anticipated to be done in sports fund, whereby we want to get investors, give us their money, spend on a promise that from our collection, you'll be getting so much. It may be a very good frontier, but Madam Speaker, if not checked, we may find ourselves in headwoods in the future. And therefore, I thought that this is something, again, that our committee will look into so that then we call the relevant agencies and make sure that we get to the bottom of it. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, the issue of pensions, many pensioners are not getting their pensions in time because we appropriate money here, but the exchequer releases are not coming in time. and therefore we have so many pensioners, many people who've retired, but they cannot access their pay simply because Treasury has not released exchequer or the monies that they so badly need. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I wish to support the report and just request that members give support so that then we make way forward. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable, yes, Honorable Owen Baya. Then we'll have Honorable Makali Mulu after.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to commend the Committee on Public Debt and Privatization Committee, led by the Honorable Abdishurie, for a good job done on this matter. And I want to commend each and every member of the committee. Honorable, debt is one of the issues that we grapple with as a country all the time. And this government came into power on the promise that we will reduce debt, Honorable Speaker. And one of the very unpleasant things about the previous regime was debt. People were borrowing money and money was being borrowed, but there was nothing really to show for it. And it became a clarion call, and Kenyans felt really burdened by debt, Honorable Speaker. But one of the interesting things, Honorable Speaker, that we must note and take immediate action on is that we have over 1 trillion of unutilized loans lying in our banks. Money has been borrowed, commitment fees made, interest accruing, and yet this money is there where government agencies and government and MDAs are not utilizing the money because people borrowed without a plan. Honorable Speaker, this hurts the economy because the reason why we even have a cash crunch, we have a problem of cash flow, is because debt payment is a fast charge. And when it is a fast charge, then you accumulate all the money, take it over 80% and give it out. And yet, you have the money lying in our banks. Honorable Speaker, I want this committee, the Abdishurie-led committee, to ensure that this money is disbursed and we get value for it. Otherwise, I don't want to use the word foolhardy, but I think it is that you borrow what you don't need and keep there, then burden the taxpayer with commitment fees, and yet you get to a level where exchequer is not available, like we have the case of CDF today. We can't get all the money. But probably the money was swept and paid for a debt that the money is lying in an account of an MDA that has been utilized. Honorable Speaker, those are bad manners, and I think we need to stop that. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, 89% of the consolidated fund services is projected to increase. I don't want to go to that point, but I have a very interesting point here, Honorable Speaker, that I want to speak on. This government, Honorable Speaker, according to the report, has not effectively harnessed non-debt financing options. Non-debt financing options. These non-debt financing options, Honorable Speaker, include things like grants. There are times when our bilateral and multilateral partners would rather give us a grant than a loan. But people who go out there to negotiate for money want to take a loan. Probably there's a negotiation fee, I don't know, for these loans, Honorable Speaker. But then, why don't we look at non-debt financing, which include grants? We have a lot of money right now, Honorable Speaker, in climate financing. We have money in concessional funding. We saw the expressway being built. We didn't take a loan on the expressway. But somehow it was built and users, motorists are paying for it. But sometimes the people that we want to trust with going out there to look for funds want to take loans instead of going for non-loan financing options. Honorable Speaker, and I want this committee, which is doing a good job, before a loan is signed, before this Kenya government commits itself to a loan, the question we must ask, was there an alternative? Was there an option? Could there have been an non-loan funding? Would there have been something that is... Honorable Speaker, I want you, if you can keep my time a little bit, I have a lot of things to talk about, Honorable Speaker. Add me like 4 minutes, because important things must be said on this. Honorable Speaker, before John Badi became minister, before John Badi became Minister for Finance, he sat there. We sat with him. He used to sit here. Then he moved there. I used to sit somewhere there, Honorable Speaker. And every time the finance minister came, we asked this question with him. Why haven't you implemented the single treasury account? We kept on asking about that. The single treasury account, so that we can consolidate all the funds. But today we still have funds that are actually in banks. Actually, we are borrowing our own money. To pay and pay interest on it, because you have money in this bank, you have money on this bank, and that other bank, this account. When you go to KCB and say, we want an overdraft, they actually give you your own money that is lying there from another MDA. Honorable Speaker, this government must ensure that we have the single treasury account. I do not know the experts here. I know Makalimul is an expert on this thing. He might tell us. Why is it very difficult to establish a single account, treasury account? Why is it so difficult? What are the interests? What are the interests, Honorable Speaker? I want to speak like the member of Parliament for Kilifi North. Honorable Speaker, and I want to ask this question. Why is it difficult to establish a treasury single account to consolidate idle government cash balances and improve liquidity management and lower the government's borrowing costs? Honorable Speaker, why is it difficult? Why? And we know actually that is one of the panacea that we can use to consolidate funds and stop this problem of cash flows that we have, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, another very important thing that I would like to speak about, Honorable Speaker, apart from the single treasury account, is we have an opportunity, Honorable Speaker, to redeem this country. Our multilateral lenders, we have seen, Honorable Speaker, us passing laws. I remember the interest bill. What was the name of that interest bill, Honorable Speaker? The one that we passed recently here. You know, that bill, yes, conflict of interest bill that we are passing here. Most probably some multilateral or bilateral lenders were pushing this bill in our throat because of funding. Because of funding, Honorable Speaker. Because we want to look for money. And therefore we are told, these unpalatable things you must pass, you must do this and this and this, because we must rely on some multilateral lending and loans and all that. And therefore, as a country, we have to be pushed through a path that we do not like. But I want to say in this August House, Honorable Speaker, if we consolidate all our funds, if we have one single treasury account, if we are careful about the loans that we are borrowing, we may not have to go to multilateral lenders, Honorable Speaker. Mwai Kibaki did it. The Honorable Mwai Kibaki did it. And I think it can still be done. I think we can still run this economy, the 6th largest in Africa, on funds that are available and not even raise single tax with, you know, if we do all these things, Honorable Speaker, we can bring down the tax, we can bring down VAT, we can bring down payslip taxes and all those kind of things and still manage this economy. I believe, Honorable Speaker, it is very possible. The only problem is we are careless in our borrowing. And when we get the money, we are not even ready to implement those projects. That money lies in our accounts, and then we go back. We borrow money that has been loaned to us. So you actually pay double loan, interest and commitment fees, and then you also go back to the same bank again and borrow to pay salaries, Honorable Speaker. We need to find a way. Honorable Speaker, what is wrong with even having one county government account? One single county government. So that because one county government has money, a lot of it they're not using. Another county government, Honorable Speaker, does not have money. They go to a bank and borrow money that is there from another county, which is still government money. Honorable Speaker, we need to have a fiscal consolidation at another level to save us from always paying a lot of money and continue to borrow. The circle of borrowing, Honorable Speaker, unless we are careful, we shall continue that way and we will not move this country forward. I want to thank the committee for a job well done. Honorable Shuri, you are doing a very, very good job. If I was the boss, I would have given you something. But I think I will do that next time. But thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and this country must move forward without debt. I thank you.
Honorable Makala Mulu, member for Kitui Central.
Yeah, thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me take this opportunity to thank my chairman. I think I'm 2 months old out of that committee, and I must appreciate the good work they have done. And I also want to thank the Deputy Majority Leader for being candid. That's what Kenyans expect from all of us as members of Parliament, telling the country the truth. Honorable Speaker, the date is at March 2025 is 11.6 trillion. Out of that, you find over the years, we have been having more external debt than domestic debt. But now the ratio seems to have changed, Honorable Speaker. We are doing now 46% external, 54% domestic, which means we are borrowing more domestically. If you look at the report currently, it is proposing, the proposed debt ratios, the mix, what we call debt mix, is that 2% external, 68% domestic, which means now we rely more on domestic debt as opposed to external debt. The disadvantage with that is that the domestic debt is always more expensive. To make things worse, it has a shorter repayment period. So what will happen to our interest? Interest will keep on increasing, and you realize that even the mix in terms of the share of, in terms of total interest, the share of domestic interest payment will be higher. And I think if we want to manage our debt properly, Honorable Speaker, these are some of the things we must get them right. Honorable Speaker, what has been written in this report, I think it's almost everything is like we've said it before. The issue of commitment fee. Imagine, Honorable Speaker, up to now, this financial year which we are implementing, we have paid commitment fee amounting to about 770 million from July 1st to date. 770 million. Kenyans, I think we really need to do something. And that's why I agree with you, David Majority Leader. You know, Honorable Mbanda has been one of us many, many years. And we have been on these pages together saying these things. Now he's the man holding the steering wheel, but things are not changing. I really want to urge him that things can change, because if they don't change, Honorable Speaker, we have a problem. Issues of counterpart funding, Honorable Speaker. Why do you get a loan and you don't have your local share of the loan so that you continue paying commitment fee? Just poor financial management. Now, the elephant in the room. This animal called securitization, Honorable Speaker. And I really want to thank Chairman for having picked this. What has happened, Kenyans, is that now the government is able to get some money in advance. And the security is the money we expect to collect. For example, we are collecting fuel levy, 7 shillings per litre, and on the base side, because that money will be flowing always, that money now the government can take some money in advance, lump sum, and then the payment will be coming from that levy on a monthly basis. We have already taken that money, and that's the money we have used to pay about 40% to all the contractors for them to move back to continue the works. It sounds excellent, but I can tell you, as somebody who appreciates these financial issues, that the challenge you have with that, and I can see my time is, the challenge we have with that, honorable members, the challenge we have with that, what happens is you are tying your
extra 3 minutes.
You are tying your cash flows in advance for repayments. So what happens if by bad luck this house decides to say we are removing the 7 shillings fuel levy next budget? What happens to the repayments? They will be stuck. You will not be able to move. And that's why we are saying this as an area we need to move very cautiously. We need to be very cautious and move to this direction. The other effect is, which is critical, is in 2 years we'll be having elections. And elections are elections. They can go either way. Assuming we get another government which says we are not going to charge any fuel levy of 7 shillings. Or we are not going to continue the sports fund, because that's the other area we want to go to. What it means basically then, the other government coming will have a challenge paying this money. And I think we really need to get worried, because it means we've already tied our hands in terms of cash flow. And what will happen is the so-called fiscal consolidation as we move to the future will just become a story. It will never be a reality. And I think really, honorable members, if we want to help this country, time has come when we must all come together and help Treasury get out some of these things. Deputy Majority Leader, you have talked about the single account, single Treasury account. That's the most important account we need in this country. Why can't we tell the Waziri Bandi that unless you have it operational by 1st July, we are not going to discuss anything coming from you? Because it will help this country. As you said, Deputy Majority Leader, we have money lying all over the accounts, government money. And that's the money we are borrowing through buying treasury bills, treasury bonds. So the government is using the money to buy their own money, and at the end of the day, you are paying interest. So it makes all of us look very bad. So to me, I think we need to help Treasury so that we get some of these things right for the sake of our country. Honorable members, I want to share with you some experience. About 2 weeks ago, we had a serious conference on debt transparency, aligning legal frameworks to good practice. And in that meeting, we had the former finance minister from Ghana. You are all aware Ghana has restructured their public debt. What they told us, in very clear terms, Kenyans pray God that will never go through a debt restructuring. It is a very bad experience. And that's where we are heading, Kenyans. So if it is possible, Majority Leader, Deputy Majority Leader on this side, we need to make sure that we run away from public debt restructuring as a country, if we want to help our Kenyans. And this will be good for our future generations, colleagues. So there are some things we must do for public interest and put our political interests aside. And by doing that, we'll be helping ourselves, we'll be helping our children, and we'll be helping our future generations, so that when they come to this country, they will be saying, we are honorable members of the 13th Parliament who set the right foundation for financial management of this country. If we go that direction, honorable members, I can tell you we'll be helping this country. So even when I look at this report, and this one I've seen my Majority Leader coming in. Majority Leader, allow me just to address you, please. This House has made such important recommendations, but they're never implemented. Can you help us get these things implemented? For sure, if they are implemented, we'll never talk about borrowing. We'll have enough money in this country to do our things. But as Honorable Shuri has said, bad financial manners are taking us the wrong direction. So can we work as a team and say, whatever recommendation we make here as a House, let's implement them. If we do that, it will be good for this country. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I submit, and I want to thank you for that additional 2 minutes so that I make my submission. Thank you so much.
The Honorable Member for Tharaka Nithi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Tharaka is my constituency, Tharaka Nithi is my county. But both names are suitable, especially with my aspirations now to move to Tharaka Nithi County. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, allow me to support this report by the Committee on Public Debt and Privatization, chaired by the Honorable Shurie. A good job has been done, because we need reports like this from time to time so that we know the position of the country when it comes to public debt. We know very well that quite often we are crippled by public debt. And sometimes we are told the country is on the verge of receivership. That is, we are not able to pay our debts, and our lenders may actually make a run on us, as a result of which we would possibly go under, as some countries have actually experienced. There is a belief that public debt is now going down, and that burden means that there may be money that we would have used for public debt, which will now realize development. We are just in the middle of making the budget, and it is of concern to everybody that most of the revenue we have is for recurrent expense. And that recurrent expense includes Consolidated Fund Services, CFS, that is repayment of our debts, whether international, local, or the other recurrent expenses. We need, as a matter of fact, to now look at how much we have and how much we have to spend, both recurrent and on repaying debts, because Kenyans are anxious that they are not seeing development as they should actually be seen. It is important also to commend that as we do this budget, and in spite of every observation made by experts like Honorable Makali Mulu, that we may be buying our own money, we may be trading our own money, there is visibility going to the country and especially rural constituencies of development taking place. That whichever way we have to unlock the stored projects, the stored roads, which have caused anxiety amongst our constituents, that here we are, we were promised this tarmac road, it is started and then it went down. At least we are now unlocking part of this money by whatever means to ensure that contractors are back on site and that we are realizing the roads which we were promised or which we ourselves as leaders promised. We know that interest is a concern, but unfortunately money is expensive and a return for money borrowed is interest. So, Honorable Shuri and his committee, as you make recommendations on all the other aspects, look at this interest so that we are able to advise on the most feasible ways of borrowing money, less expensive, whether it is through grants or that we have to realize development through PPPs so that we do not have to incur most of this interest, which is becoming worrisome. There is a pending bill in this House on the amendment of the Treaty Making Agreement Act, so that this House is involved even in agreements, loan agreements, borrowings of more than $1 billion from inception to the end. This, we've said, is a good law because it will ensure that this House monitors how we move ahead with the borrowing. So the recommendations made are good recommendations. Let them not to become dead letter recommendations, but recommendations that will help our economy as it grows. With those remarks, I beg to support the adoption of the report.
The Honorable Member for Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Let me also rise to support the report by the Chairman, Public Debt and Privatization Committee on the report on the Consolidated Fund Services expenditure for the estimates for the financial year 2025-2026. Honorable Speaker, let me start by saying I've perused the report, and let me admit that the committee has been bold enough to tell it as it is, even though there have been a check in the tongue, checked and edited the reality of the matter. One fact that made it very clear, even though they have tried to put it softly or try to hide the truth, the fact of the matter that public debt has been rising unabated. If you look at the the graphs that are being plotted by various institutions involved in economic matters, it has been a positive trend. Meaning public debt has been rising against what we were told by this government during the campaign period, they are going to reduce public debt. Honorable Speaker, and I want the Kenyan people to know that at the moment, it's estimated the public debt stands at 11.36 trillion. That's as far as by 31st March 2025. And Honorable Chair, Speaker, and the member of Power Kenya must know there's been this unending debate about the odious debt. a debt who nobody knows where it is, and a debt nobody knows who procured it, and what it was used to cover. So, Honorable Speaker, there is a growing feeling, and this feeling must be resolved or addressed by the new CS in Treasury, that the actual stock of debt in Kenya is unknown. Whatever we are always being given are being estimates. Honorable Speaker, the report has highlighted very many facts which we all know, but probably many have been afraid or to pick them out. Honorable Speaker, and I want to read paragraph 12 of the report, the last sentence. Just basically it says the interest, it has increased tremendously compared to the previous years, but the most serious statement every Kenyan must be aware wherever they are seated. This elevated burden not only heightens interest rate risks, but also crowds out essential government investments and inflates the cost of financing the fiscal deficit. They have told us the economy is doing well. Reality on the ground is different. Second, Honorable Speaker, it clearly says, the report, and I'm not quoting any, I'm quoting this report, that there is no relief in the foreseeable future. If you are going to go to paragraph 13, it continuously highlights the challenges facing this economy. And this basically clearly states that the interest payment as share of GDP is expected to increase from 3.2 in 2015 to about 5.7, while development expenditure will decline from 7.2% to 3.5%. This inverse trend signals a structural crowding out effect where escalating public debt obligations are displacing capital investments in infrastructure, education, and other development enabling sectors. The opportunity cost is stark. Resources that could stimulate economic transformation and improve welfare are increasingly diverted towards debt servicing, past borrowing. Honorable Speaker, we can't tell it more than we have done. The truth of the matter, we are not doing well. And the earlier we accept it and reflect, the better. And I think the committee must continuously be bold enough and tell it all to avoid this sugarcoating that we have been fed all over, the rhetoric we have been fed all over. As I conclude, Honorable Speaker, the minority deputy whip is in government and he should stop lamenting and get the government working. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Aden Daud.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise also to support this report. I must confess that I'm a member of the committee that has prepared this report. Madam Speaker, a lot has been said about the report by the other speakers, but I want to highlight one thing. In our MTDS, our medium-term debt strategy, we have passed this House has passed a debt strategy mix of 75% domestic borrowing and 25% foreign borrowing. Madam Speaker, the problem with our budgets and problem with getting money from the consolidated fund is normally because of tax collections do not come at the time they are supposed to become. We always have a problem with our tax collection, and therefore we use domestic borrowing to do what we call to buttress our tax collections. It is the committee in its report is urging the National Treasury and the Central Bank to front load the borrowings, the domestic borrowing, so that our cash flow does not become a problem. A lot of ministries and departments have been used to what they call lack of cash flow or lack of exchequer from Treasury. The reason we are lacking exchequer is because our cash flows do not come at the time when ministries and departments are in need of that money. The second thing, Madam Speaker, is the issue of securitization. It is within this report that there is a new animal that the national government is using called securitization. That is borrowing upfront using revenues that are supposed to come. The example of securitization that this country has done so far, and I believe that without approval of Parliament, is the Kenya Roads Board securitization of the RMLF funds of 7 shillings that has been done to repay or to pay pending bills. This kind of borrowing, one, brings contingent liability. We borrow for 10 years, 15 years on monies that we think will come from our road maintenance levy fund. We are, as a country, going green. Our president is the chair of Climate Change, African Head of States Climate Change Forum. We are encouraging our vehicles to be electric or to be green. Yet we are borrowing on monies thinking that we will be using fossil fuel, 7 shilling per liter of fossil fuel. By borrowing, we are creating a debt, and that debt will be borne by the next generation. We are borrowing that money to repay pending bills. It is not for development, it is for pending bills. Therefore, I urge this House to be very aware of the issue of securitization. The Debt Committee will bring more reports on this issue, and the House should at least come up with a policy on how that intergenerational borrowing, we are borrowing now and loading it to the generations to come. Finally, Madam Speaker, the issue of single treasury account. We borrow money through domestic borrowing. All the MDAs are putting their money in banks. That very money from the public is being used by banks to buy bonds and pay interest on that. Because of that, this committee has recommended that we have a single treasury account. This is not the first time we are recommending. We have recommended it last year and the year before. It is time that Parliament, through the Committee on Implementations, become serious and force Treasury to adopt the single treasury account. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Karoli Omondi, member for Suba South.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just want to raise a few issues as to accuracy of some of the statements in this report, but also to invite the committee to inform the House as to why probably they cannot report on additional matters that I think are pertinent to enable this House to deliberate effectively. Honorable Chair, I have noted under paragraph 90, 91 and 92 that the securitization of the road maintenance levy fund is ongoing. The way it is reported here, it appears that this is a process that is ongoing. But I think over 65 billion has been raised under this securitization program and actually disbursed to the contractors. So it is not clear to me whether this additional 175 billion is additional to the 65 billion that has already been raised. It would be important to get some clarification on this, Honorable Chair. And I share the same sentiments as members of the committee. Securitization is just consuming what you don't have ahead. And all countries that have gone that route, Angola is a classic example, that used its oil revenues to securitize and invite Chinese to build 600, 700 kilometers of roads for them and apartments that nobody has ever occupied. It always ends up in tears. But nonetheless, I think this committee would do us more justice if in future they give us a flavor of what the debt sustainability framework for Kenya is. In other words, there's a lot of numbers here and narratives. but we are not seeing a debt stress analysis, a cash flow stress analysis. I think we need to see something like that. That will wake up everybody that we are likely to default in 6 months or in 1 year or in 2 years. As it is today, it is, you can read this and you can tell there's a problem coming, but you can't predict when, because the analytical tool is missing. I am sure we have very competent staff that can give us a debt stress test and cash flow stress test for Kenya, whether we are a going concern or we will soon be bankrupt. And finally, Madam Speaker, on this single national treasury account, I'm aware there is e-citizen, and I would have loved to hear something from the committee as to how the e-citizen framework will interface with a single national account treasury account, because I think there are some connections there. But I'm not seeing that. And finally, on the Kenya Airways issue, where we've inherited private sector debt or a company that is maybe strategic or of national importance, but somehow held by the private sector, there's clear case of conflict of interest here. And probably the committee was shy to talk about it. But I think as Parliament, we need to share this information out. Why is it that it was only Kenya Airways that was guaranteed that amount of money? Why? And what is the committee recommending about it? Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Yeah, the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this motion. Honorable Speaker, as my good friend Dr. Makali Mulu was saying, if you go through the recommendations of this committee's report, indeed, we will need to do very little if all these recommendations are adopted, or rather, since we are likely to adopt them, if they are implemented by the National Treasury. Honorable Speaker, allow me to pick up from where the member from Homa Bay, the Honorable Karoli Omondi, has stopped on the single treasury account. And I remember, Honorable Speaker, last year, during debate of this same report, we had this recommendation. And I think the danger is that we only put it as a recommendation with no timelines. And I was wishing, how I wish the committee had put specific timelines. But this also points to a problem also with the House Implementation Committee. Because once the House resolves, we cannot be doing things in vain here. And we purpose to have a committee of implementation, not to just hold meetings in rooms up here and wait for allowances, but to hold meetings and follow up on all House resolutions. And I don't think there is any other resolution that is as important as the resolutions we make on finance matters, and especially around the issue of debt. Because, Honorable Speaker, this single treasury account, and I remember about 6 or so years ago, saying in this House, there are bureaucrats in government who will never allow, at their own volition, the implementation of the single treasury account, because they are minting hundreds of millions by holding money in bank accounts, getting kickbacks from commercial banks. And that is how it is, Honorable Speaker. And I have no fear of contradiction when I say that, because I know. I have been an auditor in this country. I have worked in the financial services sector. I know what happens. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, it is up to the implementation committee of this House to ensure that this particular recommendation on the single treasury account is actualized. And how I wish that even as we move, Honorable Chair, you would insert a small amendment to put a timeline on the implementation of this treasury single account. Give them probably 30 to 45 days. To Honorable Speaker, because like the society we are in, Honorable Speaker, we as a House and as a country, we all live in the same country. Last year, during the State of the Nation address, none other than President William Ruto pronounced himself right in this house and asked the National Treasury that by the first quarter of 2025, everybody must be on e-procurement. We must ask ourselves, are we now towards the tail end of the second quarter, are we on e-procurement in all sectors of government? Because, Honorable Speaker, if there is no follow through to these pronouncements, if there is no action being taken by those who ought to be taking action, and that is none other than committees of this house that must ensure that whatever is pronounced in this house is implemented, Honorable Speaker, then we will go through the motions every year saying have a single treasury account. The president will pronounce himself on the question of e-procurement, but it will never be done because people are eating heavily from the manual procurement processes that exist, Honorable Speaker. And I've seen, Honorable Speaker, in some of these government parastatals, interestingly, you find a procurement process that is tailored or skewed in a way that it will only go to one contractor or one service provider. PPRA jots down an opinion and attempts to stop that procurement. 2-3 weeks later, the same agency, PPRA, gives a go-ahead for that procurement process. Then you wonder, why in the first place then do you seek to stop that procurement process? And all these things can only be brought to an end if we go to e-procurement, Honorable Speaker, and that is why we must support what the President pronounced himself on the question of e-procurement, because it has a bearing on our debt levels. The huge amounts of pending bills emanate from procurement processes that take forever. And people procure towards the end of the financial year, like now, incur expenditure, but you don't pay, and they are all over to July in the new financial year. They end up accumulating into pending bills, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, we must be the ones to assist the President. We must be the ones to assist, not the President, but the country, because ensuring the implementation of a single treasury account is helping Kenya. Implementation of e-procurement by the National Treasury is helping Kenya. And I hope the Cabinet Secretary and National Treasury and his Principal Secretary are listening. And if they are, because they are coming here tomorrow, I hope to hear in his statement tomorrow an update on where the National Treasury is on implementation of e-procurement across all sectors in government, Honorable Speaker, including the National Assembly and Parliament as an institution. Because, Honorable Speaker, you also chair the Parliamentary Service Commission, and it is also an arm of government. Honorable Speaker, moving on to some of the other recommendations on the opportunity cost that is arising from interest being waived, and especially for the case example that were given, or rather I have seen in the report of Kenya Airways, that government borrows money from T-bills at a rate of 9 or 10%, then you lend the same money to KQ at 3% or 5%. Why? Why can't Kenya Airways go and borrow from the market at 10%? Because you're basically subsidizing a private company as much as government as a shareholder in that company. And therefore, we must be careful that if we are borrowing money to on lend to another government agency or a government parastatal, then it must be lent to that parastatal at an equivalent interest or probably at a small premium. Kenya Airways, if they couldn't get a commercial loan at 15%, why can't they pay that loan if we borrowed at 9%, at 10 or 11% or 12% like in a SACCO? And it will still be at a discount compared to the commercial loans that they would otherwise have gotten, Honorable Speaker, because this is where we lose money. And as the chair and the vice chair, Honorable Makali, were saying, or rather the immediate former vice chair and diligent member of this committee, Honorable Makali, were saying, we continue to lose money that way. Two, Honorable Speaker, is a question of commitment fees that we are paying for loans. And again, the committee has rightly noticed, I noticed in the observations, that, Honorable Speaker, this is emanating largely from loans that we have committed to, but we do not allocate or give adequate money, appropriate adequate money to pay the counterpart financing or the financing that ought to come from the government of Kenya. And it's in all sectors, especially the water sector. I have seen many projects in the water sector, in the energy sector, and a few in the road sector where you need counterpart funding. And because money during budget making process is not appropriated, adequate money to pay for the counterpart funding, then you end up not having these loans disbursed. You have paid commitment fees. At times you have even paid insurance against those loans. And that is money lost because you are not deriving what you ought to have derived from the money you ought to borrow, Honorable Speaker. And I am glad I had about 2 or 3 weeks ago the Comptroller of Budget speak to the same issue about commitment fees, interest that we pay and insurance that we pay on these undisbursed loans. And we therefore must ensure that for every loan that we sign for, because the National Treasury, there is no loan that will be signed for by anybody in government, whether it is those in the energy sector, whether it is in the water sector, whether it is Kenya Airways that you are guaranteeing, there is no loan that will be signed for that the National Treasury is not aware. And if one hand in the National Treasury is the one signing for these loans, and the other hand is the one preparing the budget estimates, what is so difficult to ensure that you have provided adequate resources to pay for the counterpart funding and commitment fees so that we don't continue incurring costs? And therefore, that's why I want to agree with Honorable Makali and the committee that if we implement all the recommendations of this committee, and now that I see Honorable Makali just walked back in, I was saying, Honorable Makali, if there is somebody who has let us down as a house and as a country, is our own implementation committee, the Committee on Implementation. Because all these recommendations that we make here, year in, year out, it is up to that committee to follow up. I would wait for the day I see the Cabinet Secretary of National Treasury, the Director General in charge of public debt, the Principal Secretary in the National Treasury, before the implementation committee telling the country why it is taking them so long to have a single treasury account, while government continues to borrow its own money, because government largely is borrowing its own money. If you look at the money being held by, for instance, the Kenya Roads Board in commercial banks, you'll be shocked. Even road agencies that owe billions to contractors, you will find them holding money in bank accounts. Look at the bank accounts of the National Lands Commission, Honorable Speaker. You'll be shocked. Money lying there, idle money that is being used by the commercial banks where they have banked to trade and trade with government, lend it back to government, government pays at an interest. And Honorable Speaker, if that is not insider trading, I don't know whether it's insider trading or whatever it is, Honorable Speaker, but we are saying we are guilty as charged, very guilty, because these are simple things that should take a very short time to implement, and I must challenge our implementation committee to ensure that the National Treasury and all other agencies that are charged with implementing many of these recommendations in this report and other previous reports are implemented fully, so that we realize the gains that we ought to realize and save on our public debt spending. Honorable Speaker, if you read through this report, you see between 2015, 2016 to now 2025, 2026, the committee is telling us that the public debt interest payments as a share of our GDP has grown from 3.2% in 2015-2016 to a projected 5.7% in 2025-2026. Very huge leap, almost doubling, because is just 0.7% to be double what it was about 10 years ago, Honorable Speaker. Consequently, as that number goes up, the development expenditure has also been going down from a high of 7.2% in 2015-2016 to 3.5% in 2025-2026. A country that is spending 3.5% on development expenditure, Honorable Speaker, as a share of GDP, cannot grow at the rate that we want our country to grow. We must devote more money to development expenditure. And Honorable Speaker, I noticed that as much as a committee speaks about other sources of financing, off-balance sheet sources of financing, Honorable Speaker, we must commend at least this administration. For the first time, a number of the huge infrastructure projects happening are happening from the fund, the housing fund, like the housing that is going on, that is helping to spur economic growth in the country. But you can imagine what would happen if we had that level of investment going in the construction of roads, construction of dams and water ponds across the country to ensure that people have adequate water, there is enough water storage capacity in the country to cater for our use during the dry season, Honorable Speaker. It would spur very good economic growth in the country and therefore reduce on the amounts that we have to borrow, Honorable Speaker. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, is on resource mobilization. And I know this is usually a very uncomfortable debate to engage with anybody. Right from Caesar's time in the Bible, when Jesus said, give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give unto God what belongs to God. We are coming to that season, Honorable Speaker, when we must, and I look forward to hearing from the Cabinet Secretary tomorrow on the revenue-raising measures. But as we speak about debt levels, we must bear in mind that as also we passed the expenditure estimates this morning, we must bear in mind that that goes hand in hand with the level of resources that we are able to mobilize locally from our own taxes. Because unless and until we are able to mobilize adequate resources to cater for our expenditure, then we will continue to expand on our fiscal deficit, and that expansion of the fiscal deficit ends up with a lot of public debt borrowing or increased borrowing from our public coffers, or rather to finance our public expenditure. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, in the interest of time, allow me to end there, but close by again appealing to the chair of to ensure that they have ensured that all these recommendations in this committee's report are implemented fully. And particularly, Honorable Speaker, I have a very keen interest on that single treasury account, and of course other issues that I have mentioned, especially around e-procurement to save on government expenditure. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I think we're done, yeah? The Honorable Kainan. Do you want to speak to this? I see you've pressed the button. You have pressed the button, Honorable Kainan. Oh, by mistake. Okay. Honorable Suleka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute to this debate. On the onset, let me congratulate the members of this committee, which I am also a member. We've worked tirelessly and exceptionally well to produce this report, and this committee is a good representation of the House in undertaking its oversight mandate. Honorable Speaker, even though the public debt service is projected at 1.9 trillion in the financial year 2025-2026, this will be the lowest debt service level over the medium term. This gives us a short-term relief that must be used wisely. We should also take this opportunity to improve how we execute the budget and redirect towards investment that grow the economy in the long term. Honorable Speaker, we've also seen a steady rise in non-discretionary spending, especially on debt service and pensions. This puts a lot of pressure on the cash flow To ensure the budget runs smoothly, we must also improve on our cash forecasting systems and coordinate better between dates and cash management teams. This will also help us manage the short-term liquidity pressures. Honorable Speaker, there is also a serious concern that was raised, that was on the wasteful spending, particularly on the commitment fees. In the first 9 months of the financial year 2024-2025, the government paid over Kenya shillings 770 million in commitment fees. We must also stop this by ensuring development partners fully disburse funds. This means we must honor our counterpart funding obligations. What happens is we usually sign contracts, we look for funding that we don't have the co-funding ready. So in the long run, we will be unable to meet our obligation in funding those projects. Then the donors will refuse to release the funds, thus leading to this huge payment of commitment fees. Honorable Speaker, we also need to increase on the investment in development. Development spending plays a big role in supporting public debt repayment in the long term, and also improving the debt sustainability for the country. However, the investment share of the GDP has dropped sharply from 19.5 from the year 2015-2016 up to 2025-2026, we are at 4.1%. We also need to change this percentage by putting more capital projects, diversifying the economy and creating jobs for our youth. And finally, Honorable Speaker, the issue of single treasury account is very critical and very important for this country. We are losing a lot. Ministries, government agencies and departments have cash lying in their accounts, and at the end of the day, we end up borrowing more money. That means we also need to put a lot of pressure on Treasury to make sure that we have this single Treasury account in the long run that is going to solve all our liquidity problems and is going to solve most of our investment and development projects in this country. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Those who are interested in speaking, put the intervention button. Honorable Timothy Toretich, I see you press the button. Yes. Are you ready? So, honorable members, with your permission, we are going to rearrange it as rearrange the order paper as follows. We are just done with order number 10, which we shall put the question at a later time. We shall now move to order number 15, which we have now renamed as order number 11. And so I'd like that order called out. And then after that, we shall move to order number 12. What was number 12 will remain as number 12. And then we shall move to what is number 16 becomes order number 13. And thereafter, what is order number 11 will become order number 14. So now you can call the next order. Committee of the Whole. Okay, Honorable Shuria, you may reply. Then we can move to the next order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank members for supporting the report, and we truly appreciate their support and their views and where we need to improve on, and we sincerely thank them. And Honorable Speaker, on that note, I beg to reply. Thank you.
Thank you. We shall put the question at a later time. Next order.
Order number 11, Committee of the Whole House, the Culture Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2024.
Who is the chair spokes? Switch off the mic. Honorable members, we are now in the Committee of the Whole when the Culture Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2024.
Clause 3.
Chairperson, I propose the question that clause 3 be part of the bill. Mover of the amendment.
Thank you, Chair. I beg to move that clause 3 of the bill be amended as it appears in the order paper. That clause 3 of the bill be amended in paragraph B by deleting the words "and cultural expression" and substituting, therefore, the words culture, culture heritage, and culture property.
Honorable members, I propose that clause 3 be amended as proposed. Honorable members, I now put the question that clause 3 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I now put the question that clause 3, as amended, be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 4.
Honorable members, I propose the question that clause 4 be part of the bill. Mover? Just leave it here, then both of us can use it.
I beg to move that clause 4 of the bill be amended as it appears in the order paper. That clause 4 of the bill be amended in subclause 2 by deleting the words cultural activities, expressions, and practices, and substituting, therefore, the words culture and culture heritage.
Honorable members, I propose the question that clause 4 be amended as proposed. I now put the question that clause 4 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 4 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 5.
I propose the question that clause 5 be part of the bill. Mover.
I beg to move that clause 5 of the bill be amended as it appears in the order paper, that clause 5 of the bill be amended. A, in subclause 1, by deleting the word expressions appearing in paragraph B and substituting therefore the word property. 2, by inserting the following new paragraphs immediately after paragraph G. GA, in consultation with institutions specializing in statistics, collecting, processing, and maintaining national statistics data on cultural heritage. GB, developing mechanisms for restitution and repatriation of illegally acquired cultural property. GC, establishment of linkages with institutions undertaking research on Kenya's cultures and cultural heritage. GD, establishment of National Cultural Center for promotion of cultural participation and fostering of creativity.
I propose the question that clause 5 be amended as proposed. I now put the question that clause 5 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 5 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 6.
I propose the question that clause 6 be part of the bill. Mover.
I beg to move that clause 6 of the bill be amended as it appears in the order paper. That clause 6 of the bill be amended. A, by deleting the words cultural heritage and cultural expression appearing in paragraph C and substituting therefore the words culture and culture heritage. B, by inserting the following new paragraphs immediately after paragraph B. BA, establishment and management of county cultural institutions. BB, in consultation with institutions specializing in statistics, collecting, processing, and maintaining county statistical data on cultural heritage.
Honorable members, I propose the question that clause 6 be amended as proposed. I now put the question that clause 6 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 6 be amended as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clauses 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12.
So these are without amendments. I propose the question that clauses 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 be part of the bill. I now put the question that clauses 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 13.
I now propose the question that clause 13 be part of the bill. I now put the question that... it has an amendment, sorry. I now propose the... Yes, mover?
I beg to move that clause 13 of the bill be amended as it appears in the order paper. That clause 13 of the bill be amended. A, by deleting subclause 1 and substituting therefore the following new subclause. 1, a person who wishes to register a property as a cultural property under this act shall apply to the county government or the cabinet secretary in the prescribed manner, provided that an application made to the cabinet secretary shall only be done after the property has been registered by a county government. B, in subclause 3, by deleting the words or person appearing immediately after the words register the property. C, in subclause 5, by deleting the words or a person and D, in subclause 6, by deleting the words or a person.
Honorable members, I propose the question that clause 13 be amended as proposed. I now put the question that clause 13 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 13 be amended, be part of, clause 13 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clauses 14, 15, and 16.
I propose the question that clause 14, 15, and 16 be part of the bill. I now put the question that clauses 14, 15, and 16 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 17.
I propose the question that clause 17 be part of the bill. Mover?
I beg to move that clause 17 of the bill be amended as it appears in the order paper. That clause 17 of the bill be amended, A, in the marginal note by deleting the words cultural expressions and substituting, therefore, the words culture, culture heritage, and culture property. And B, by deleting the words cultural expressions as national expressions and substituting, therefore, the words culture, culture heritage, and culture property.
Honorable members, I propose the question that clause 17 be amended as proposed. I now put the question that clause 17 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I now put the question that clause 17 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 18.
I propose the question that clause 18 be part of the bill. Mover?
I beg to move that clause 18 of the bill be amended as it appears in the order paper. That clause 18 of the bill be amended, A, in the marginal note by deleting the words cultural heritage and expressions and substituting, therefore, the words culture, heritage, cultural heritage, and cultural property. B, in the subclause 2 by deleting the words cultural heritage and expressions and substituting, therefore, the words culture, cultural heritage, and cultural property. And C, in subclause 4 by inserting the word it, by inserting the word it immediately after the words where there is or might be a cultural heritage if.
I propose the question that clause 18 be amended as proposed. I now put the question that clause 18 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. And I now therefore put the question that clause 18 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 19.
I propose the question that clause 19 be part of the bill. I now put the question that clause 19 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 20.
I now propose the question that clause 20 be part of the bill. Mover?
I beg to move that clause 20 of the bill be amended as it appears in the order paper. That clause 20 of the bill be amended, A, in subclause 1, I, by deleting the words a cultural expression appearing in paragraph F and substituting, therefore, the words cultural property. 2, by deleting paragraph H and substituting, therefore, the following new paragraph. H, conducts an activity or development at a cultural property or cultural heritage site without the requisite permit or license. 3, by deleting the words cultural expression appearing in paragraph I and substituting therefore the words cultural property. B, by deleting subclause 2 and substituting therefore the following new subclause 2, a person who commits an offense under this section shall be liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 1 million shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 5 years or to both.
I propose the question that clause 20 be amended as proposed. I now put the question that clause 20 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 20 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 21.
I propose the question that clause 21 be part of the bill. I now put the question that clause 21 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 22.
I propose the question that clause 22 be part of the bill. Mover?
I beg to move that clause 22 of the bill be amended as it appears in the order paper, that clause 22 of the bill be amended by deleting the word 10 and substituting therefore the word 2.
I propose the question that clause 22 be amended as proposed. I now put the question that clause 22 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 22 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 23.
I propose the question that clause 23 be part of the bill. I now put the question that clause 23 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 24.
I propose the question that clause 24 be part of the bill. Mover?
I beg to move that clause 24 of the bill be amended as it appears in the order paper, that clause 24 of the bill be amended by deleting the words imprisonment for life and substituting therefore the words a fine not exceeding 5 million shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 5 years or to both.
I propose the question that clause 24 be amended as proposed. I now put the question that clause 24 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 24 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clauses 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32.
I propose the question that clauses 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32 be part of the bill. I now put the question that clauses 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 33.
I now propose the question that clause 33 be part of the bill. Mover?
I beg to move that clause 33 of the bill be amended as it appears in the order paper. That clause 33 of the bill be amended in subclause 2 by deleting paragraph G and substituting therefore the following new paragraph. G, prescribing the manner of interlinkage with research institutions in regard to research relating to culture.
I propose the question that clause 33 be amended as proposed. I now put the question that clause 33 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 33 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye?
Aye.
Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Schedule.
I propose the question I propose the question that the schedule be part of the bill. Mover?
I beg to move that the schedule to the bill be amended as it appears in the order paper, that the schedule to the bill be amended by inserting the following new paragraph immediately after paragraph 4.
I propose the question that the schedule be amended as proposed. I now put the question that the schedule be amended as proposed. Will as many as the other opinion say aye? Will as many as the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that the schedule as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 2.
I propose the question that clause 2 be part of the bill. Mover?
I beg to move that clause 2 of the bill be amended as it appears in the order paper, that clause 2 of the bill be amended in the definition of cultural property by deleting paragraph D and substituting therefore the following new paragraph. D, buildings and architectural designs. B, by deleting the definition of cultural expression. C, by deleting the definition of culture. D, in the definition of protection, by deleting the word expression and substituting therefore the words cultural property. E, by inserting the following new definition in its proper alphabetic sequence. Culture means the set of distinctive spiritual, material, intellectual, and emotional features of a community or a social group, and includes the lifestyle, social interactions, value systems, traditions, beliefs, language, ideas, customs, codes, institutions, works of art, rituals, and ceremonies.
I propose the question that clause 2 be amended as proposed. I now put the question that clause 2 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 2 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Title.
I propose the question that the title be part of the bill. I now propose let me take that again. I propose the question that the title be the title of the bill. I now put the question that the title be the title. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 1.
I now propose the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. I now put the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Mover? To move the reporting.
Honorable Chairperson, I beg to move that the committee to report to the House its considerations of the Culture Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2024, and its approval therefore with amendments.
I now put the question, which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Culture Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2024, and its approval thereof with amendments.
Continue. After.
Chairperson.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the committee of the whole House, has considered the Culture Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2024, and approved the same with amendments.
Mover.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I also request Honorable Murungara to second the motion for agreement with the report of the committee of the whole House.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I beg to second.
Honorable members, I will propose the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I will put the question. We shall put the question at a later time. Next order.
Order number 12, the Learners with Disabilities Bill, Senate Bill number 4 of 2023, resumption of debate.
Who was the last person? Who was the last person to speak during resumption of debate? Honorable Oundo had a balance of 4 minutes. He's not here. Okay, so we shall just move to Honorable Mishimboko.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I stand to support the Learners with Disability Bill 2023. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when I'm looking to this bill, Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me start. Honorable Speaker, I stand to support this bill, the Learners with Disability Bill 2023. Honorable Speaker, this bill fulfills both our constitutional and international obligation. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when you look at Article 53 of the Constitution, it guarantees every child the right to free and compulsory basic education, Honorable Speaker. And again, additional to Kenya, Kenya is a signatory to part of international treaties, especially those who talk the right for persons with disability and the right to education, Honorable Speaker. And Kenya has put some sign, or rather, they have been signatory in part of the treaties, international treaties, that is, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm looking to clause 5 of the bill, which guarantees learners with disability equal access to equal education. Honorable Speaker, when you are talking about equal access to quality education, we need also to ask ourselves, are we having proper infrastructure in terms of school for special needs? I'm just looking to these children who are blind, children who are dumb and deaf, children who have autism, children who suffer from spina bifida and hydrocephalus. And when you are saying that they can access education, do we have proper infrastructure, because still in our normal school, we had put a policy whereby we need to have some units which can cater for children with disability. But Honorable Speaker, it is unfortunately that we have only few schools who have adhered to this request as per the policy, Honorable Speaker, making it very, very difficult for our children with disability to access education, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we need to know which are these barriers which hinder these children to access education. And when we have so, and they become a challenge, we need to look for solutions to ensure that it is true and they really actualize their dreams in terms of education, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm looking at clause 6 and 7, which clarify the shared responsibility. And this responsibility, Honorable Speaker, is between the parents and the government.
Honorable Mishi,
Yes.
order. Honorable Mishi, I like the contributions you're making. This is a very unique bill. May I get your views on clause 5, which you are just keeping, 5G?
Yeah, clause 5 of the bill guarantee learners with disability equal access to equal education. Yeah, it means we need to ensure that those barriers which hinder our children or other person with disability to access education, we need to have solution as a country and as a government. That is what I said, Honorable Speaker.
I get you, Honorable Mili. And Honorable Kajwang, do you have this bill? This provision, Honorable Mishi is speaking to, is very important. Yeah. There is clause 5G. You could look at it. But Honorable Mishi, the concern I'm raising is that if these are learners with disability, I know what the bill is intending. But when you say they shall be accorded equal treatment with other learners who possibly do not have disability, won't you be entrenching the discrimination? I don't understand.
Maybe you didn't get my point. Yeah, because when you say that they need to have equal access to quality education, equal access to quality education, for them even to have that quality education, they need also to have proper infrastructure.
You may proceed. I see the chair of Justice and Legal Affairs Committee and the chair for the Departmental Committee on Education are looking at it and may contribute on that point I'm making later. Contribute.
Okay.
And I thank you for, the contributions which are making us realize how important this bill is.
Yeah.
You may proceed. The minutes we have taken during your intervention are added to your time.
Okay. And also we need to say that these learners with disability, they should not be denied admission and rather participation due to their disability. Because we have seen in some community that person with disability are being denied access to admission, maybe because maybe there are no units in those schools for special needs children, or rather there's no proper infrastructure in terms of school which cater for those needs special children. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm talking about clause 6 and clause 7, which talked about shared responsibility, and that is of parents and government. Well, the government will ensure there is proper infrastructure, maybe there is a supply of equipment, and maybe learning aids like the Braille, those for the deaf. The parents should ensure that they take responsibility to enroll their children to school so that they can access education. And failure to that, maybe going in future, we need to get some regulation or rather some laws to ensure that any parents who deny a child not to access education due to his or her disability, there's something which is going to be done so that at least all of those children or persons with disability can have access to education. Honorable Speaker, clause 9 through 14 strengthen the management and governance of special needs education institutions. Honorable Speaker, in our school, we have what we call Board of Management. This Board of Management take care of the management of the school. But in future, and it is good, or rather it is prudent, to ensure that this BOM, they need to have composition of the teachers, the parents, and also maybe an expert, or rather somebody who understands the special needs of this person or children with disability, Honorable Speaker, so that when they are doing their meetings, they are doing their contribution and deliberation, it's going to be a person who is informed on what is going to be done so that this person with disability or other children, they can access education without any kind of hindrance, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Clause 35 and 36 establish robust quality assurance mechanism and assign county government the responsibility to monitor and maintain education standard. Honorable Speaker, we have what we call the quality assurance, who just go to schools and just see to ensure that the quality of education which is given to the children or to the person is of the standard which is required by the government or rather by the policy. So we need to ensure that at least there's somebody who is going to be doing monitoring and evaluation and take the responsibility to ensure this person with disability. I'm looking to a child with cerebral palsy. A child with cerebral palsy is not just like any other normal child. It's a different child because of the status he is or she is. So we need also to know how do we ensure that such kind of person or children, they have what we call standard and quality education, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it is unfortunately up to date we still have some buildings or some education institution whereby you go and you fail to see the infrastructure done in favor of person with disability. You don't see a ramp or you don't see where the children with disability can go. Or you go to a school, there is a playing field, but there's no playing field which is special for those children with special need, Honorable Speaker. So when we are talking about education, education is so vast and education, it involves a lot. So going in future, we need also to ensure that when we want this children or this person to realize their dreams in terms of education, we need to ensure all the factors which are necessary and which are key to ensure that all those challenges which affected or have been affecting these children historically, then we have some solution in them. And going forward, even when we are doing our budgeting, we need also to ensure that what are we putting? Where do we add? Like now, I've seen that in terms of social protection, we have added some money for transfer for those persons with disability, for the orphans and other vulnerable groups. So, Honorable Speaker, I think as a way forward, we need to know as a country that we are really putting some priority in those areas which will ensure that the persons or children with disability can access education without any kind of discrimination, without being isolated, or without being hindered or rather denied admission to schools or rather to universities and other training colleges. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
What's wrong with this thing?
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this very important bill that has emanated from the Senate. And I must commend the Senate. For the first time, we are debating something serious from that House. Most of the time, they have been glossing over their bills, most of which do not see light of the day when they come here. But this is an important bill because children living with disabilities and also other human beings, even adults living with disabilities, sometimes they are taken to be a curse to the society. And most of the African societies, especially pre-colonial, were not treating these people with any dignity at all. They thought it was a curse, so the easier thing to do was to cast them out and possibly end their lives. We have moved from that today to embracing these people who are differently enabled. It's not that they got a disability per se, it's the enabling that is different. Because if we looked at all human beings, most of them have a disability of one type or the other. It's only that some are not pronounced, some are not visible, And some of them we do not want to talk about, but they are disabilities. I always look upon Honorable Sankok, David Sankok. He is a member of YALA, who is a person who has lived with disability since he was a young boy. He took it with a stride, and he has made every possible good thing out of it, because he's taken it as an advantage and not a disadvantage. Because differently, people enabled differently have disadvantages which they can exploit to make their lives better. Therefore, today, as we debate how we should educate our children with disabilities, we must look upon this with our two eyes and consider it very important that these children do get an education as equal as any other child whom we treat as a normal child. The bill is very important. If you allow me kindly to gloss over it quickly, and especially we start with a clause 5. After guiding principles, the objects are in clause 3, which objects are good enough. Clause 4 is on guiding principles, and clause 5 is or starts part 2, which has rights and responsibilities regarding learners with disabilities. And after going through A to F, we have G, where the Honorable Speaker has just posed a question as to what exactly we mean that these learners have to be given equal treatment with other learners. What he is saying is treatment here does not apply to facilities, benefits, and whatever else. It is how you approach the learner so that the learner does not feel he is less, he or she is less. The learner feels, I am complete in spite of the fact that I do not have some parts of the body, or some parts of the body are weakened. They are not useful in the circumstances of that instance occasion. What this means is that if the children have to go for PE, you do not tell those who are disabled to sit down and watch those who are normal playing. It should be open to all of them to play, whichever way, in a manner that is satisfying. Even if it means running, we should be able to assist these learners to be running in their own capabilities. So we should not be seen to try and say, you can do this, you cannot do that. And this is what it says. We have equal treatment with the other learners. They do not feel they are lesser human beings, or that those who are normal are proper persons when these other ones are abnormal persons. Responsibilities are given. What is the responsibility of the parent? From there we move to the responsibility of the national government, then the responsibility of the county governments. The national governments have tried, because even as we debate today, we have special schools for these people. However, they are not particularly well run. They are not particularly well furnished. They are not particularly adored for this particular learning. The net effect is that we have to put a lot more resources, and we have to make these schools able to accommodate these special learners. The county governments, as usual, have not played their role. And we keep on complaining day in, day out that we give county governments resources. Instead of using those resources for the proper use, we have bloated employment in the counties. Then we have absolutely wanton stealing that goes on of public resources by the county governments, with the governors who do not want to be held accountable. When the MCS try to hold them accountable, there is hue and a cry, oh, you've been funded to come and ruin my government, to impeach me, all these manner of things.
the county governments under the governors must rise to the occasion and also play a part in ensuring that our special learners are actually accommodated in ECDE just like the other children. Then from there we have clauses which is on part 3, registration and management of special needs education institutions. These are the special schools we have today. We are trying to make it legal so that we make a provision, we make a framework for our special schools to be properly registered, to be properly run and administered by people who are qualified to do these particular works. Then from there, we have part 4, which deals with the identification and the assessment of children with disabilities. Because we may not actually know this, some of the elements of disabilities may not be known to us, and it's only experts who can do so. But it grieves us a lot when you come to the fact that some of the children's disabilities are not let out in the open. Again, I said this is a primitive African cultural practice where we hide them in cow sheds or in our own dark rooms or in our own pens, which we've set aside for them in a manner that is derogatory. Therefore, it's now mandatory that when you have a child with a disability, then the county education board has to do the assessment and eventually enroll that child into a facility suitable for the child to acquire some education. Part 6 is on development of those facilities. I've just made a reference to the fact that these schools are not particularly well equipped, are not well developed, and now we are going to have a framework, legal framework, requiring the cabinet secretary to ensure that these schools are on an equal footing with the other ordinary schools. Once we do this, then we are able to ensure that our children who are differently able acquire the best of the education just like any other children. Pointedly, which is very important, is that we have seen people who live with disabilities and who get a quality education working very well for this country, and those are the people we should be emulating when the time comes for us to deal with the education of this particular group of persons. So with those remarks, Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to support. Thank you.
Is she in? The Honorable, it doesn't seem to be much more interest than. Okay, the Honorable Peter George Kaluma.
I thank you, Chair. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we always disagree with the House of the Senate in several bills and motions they process and bring here. For the first time this year, Honorable Speaker, I wanted to congratulate the Senate for coming up with this bill. Honorable Speaker, until you see a person who was able to suffer disability in the course of their lives, you will not appreciate such a bill. Honorable Speaker, in the 11th Parliament, we had the MP for Migori County, the Honorable Denita Gatti. And Denita was very agile here. When she suffered a road accident, and then there was another road accident, and suffered disability, was treated. A person who was very agile came back before us here on a wheelchair. Honorable Speaker, I had even difficulties approaching her. But what she told me is that we who are enabled differently by God take a lot for granted. She told me she never knew a time would come when even just going to a restroom, you have to first resolve in your mind whether it should be another person helping you. She told me she never knew that even dressing her clothes, number one, the clothes have to change. Number two, it takes another person to assist you. So this is very important. Soon thereafter, Honorable Speaker, my own personal assistant was a guy who was more intelligent than me. Honorable Kajwang was telling you, a guy called Honorable Mr. Kakaji. And I took a guy who had done masters in economics as my personal assistant. Suffered an accident on Limuru Road here. And in that accident, his entire right arm went. And when I saw even something like signing a check, the gentleman had to learn afresh using the left hand. All the documents have to change. The life has to change from a person who was helping others to helping. Then I realized, Honorable Speaker, that it is important we think about these people. I'm one MP who hosts the only school, I think, in the entire of Southern Nyanza, including the Kisii area and I think part of Bomet, who are enabled differently intellectually. And Honorable Speaker, when you see the situation, sometimes we talk about their issue, even the release of their capitation here. I can tell you we should focus more on their situation than other children who are enabled differently. Honorable Speaker, when there is no water, you don't know what to do with the children in Uganda Special School in my constituency. And sometimes the principal has to call me when there is delay, saying, can you even send some money we get a Bowser from Homa Bay Town to get water to the school? Because of their situation, others are autistic, others are intellectually, gifted in different ways. We are being careful on language. It's a difficult situation. You allow them to go into a river, they will drown. And then they need water a lot. We had to reach a level, Honorable Speaker, of getting some Japanese, actually the embassy in Japan here, to put for us enough dormitories and to create for us infrastructure that can help, these children enter and also, study and become. And let me tell you, and I'm addressing this to the chair of the committee, when you go there on their education day and you see how innovative they are, I can tell you the bedside carpets I use, the beads used in my house are processed, but very beautiful things. Look at the bangles, the innovativeness, when they are trained to be able, like other people, to live on their own. You've seen cases, Honorable Speaker, where persons with disability are being exploited by some Kenyans who are enabled differently on the streets here as beggars. By investing in the learning and scaling of persons with disability, we remove such abuses. I'm very happy, Honorable Speaker, therefore, with this bill coming from the Senate, and I think it is a good intervention because it is going to vulnerable section of our society whom we should be taking care of. But I wanted to urge that this is important because when we are supplying resources to these institutions, we are being alerted that you must always have those resources in time. Honorable Speaker, I've spoken to the absence of water in these institutions at times. What of chair education where there is no capitation and therefore they don't have, food? And remember, sometimes people just drop them there, people who are not even related to them. And sometimes these schools, having learners with various disabilities, are just used the manner we used to use them in the traditional sense of somewhere you drop people and you forget about them. The difficulty the principals go through is very, very, very dehumanizing. And so I agree with this bill that for once the infrastructure accommodating persons with disability will be adequate, that the training and the skilling will be relevant to make them have a meaningful life beyond being, people who can be neglected. And I know, Honorable Speaker, we are coming from old tradition. When you are born with any form of disability, if I may be allowed to use that word, you are somebody who was deemed to have, been cast. And in the olden, most African societies, these people would be dropped into some wilderness, a rope tied to confirm whether it is shaking or not until you die there. You are devoured by wild animals. We are past that stage. And that is why this provision, this bill makes me very happy. So the provisions here will ensure that we have adequate, accessible infrastructure. We have adequate personnel to train and skill these people who are gifted differently to live their full life. That we have the facilities and an environment where they can also enjoy their right to education. That is a right secured very firmly for them under both Article 53, if they are children, Honorable Speaker, and Article 45, the right to free and compulsory basic education. The fact that they are enabled differently does not mean they forgo those rights, not an exception in our Bill of Rights. And so this is good. And so I support this bill, Honorable Speaker, but I will, at the appropriate time, be urging that we review some of these provisions by way of constructive amendments to make them not vague, to make them more direct, to make them more assertive in terms of the rights we are talking about. For instance, Honorable Speaker, when in clause 5 we say the objects of this act, and then you go sorry, I'm not on clause 5, sorry, Honorable Speaker. Clause 5 says that every learner with disability shall have the right, and then G, equal treatment with other learners. The intent is good, and on the face of it, it is very good. But which learners? We are creating this provision so that we can discriminate positively for these learners with disability. So when you say they have a right to equal treatment with other learners, what are you talking about? They cannot be treated like the other learners who are enabled differently. You must, in a way, give them a treatment that is over and above, and that accords with the fact that they are enabled differently. And so the intention in a provision like that, Honorable Speaker, is very good. But when we read it keenly, it may be interpreted vaguely by the implementers in a manner that denies this right we are seeking to assert through this amendment. And those, I think, Honorable Speaker, the House will grant us leave which we crave to clarify. Honorable Speaker, when you look at clause 6, as I end because I'm seeing light, responsibility of parents. These are specific to learners with disability. But I will be looking more keenly as we go to the committee of the whole House on this important bill, provisions of Article 53, sub-Article 3 of the Constitution. The duty, the responsibility of every parent to be responsible to every child of theirs, whether they are married or not. So that we don't have parents who believe these institutions for learners with disabilities are dropping zone to enable them shirk their responsibility. The parents must continue their duties, and if there are gaps in these good provisions that are prescribed in the Constitution, we will explicitly reiterate them here for the sake of this category of learners. Otherwise, I support Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Great. Honorable Mary, you know you're the... Yeah, that's the thing, but there is one Jared Okello.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity, and I also want to join my colleagues in supporting this most progressive bill that has come from the Senate on the learners with Disabilities Bill. Honorable Speaker, it should not be lost on us that these are our children, they are our brothers and sisters, they are our relatives, they are our friends, and we are connected with them in various ways. And therefore, they are just as normal human beings with functioning organs, just